In our number 10 spot we have Superman or UFO. You may not know this, but all of the top secret government information gets declassified after 25 years. Yes, after it's basically useless to know, as I'm sure there is much more relevant information to note. But sometimes, every so often, the government drops us little breadcrumbs to keep us on our toes. Whether the CIA is okay with it, well, we will never know. But earlier this year, 2022, a press conference was held to speak about some recent footage showing unidentifiable objects in the sky. This first video shows an object in the sky that's just sort of floating by, and then all of a sudden it zooms out of frame. The government has put more money into the study of this unidentifiable aerial object in the last while, but they still have no idea what is flying in this video. Is it not a bird or plane? And no, it is not Superman. I wish. Only, of course, if it's Henry Cavill though. Boy, is he dreamy. This footage was out to the public more than a year ago, before the Pentagon revealed that it's legitimate, and they probably only did so because of the pressure from the public to tell the truth. In our number 9 spot, we have the US Navy UFO footage. Again. Apparently the US Navy recorded some aerial footage where you see triangles flashing in the sky. The footage is recorded with night vision goggles, and it came right after the Navy reported a number of unidentifiable objects in the area off the US coast. What exactly these objects are remains unsolved. Clearly they are UFOs, but of course the CIA and the government will do everything they can to avoid saying those words. If it ain't from this planet, then it must be from somewhere else. I bet you an alien will actually land here at some point, and they'll still be hesitant to admit the truth. An unidentifiable being was seen walking around, they'll say. In our number 8 spot, we have Kenny Veach. This is a video of a guy by the name of Kenny Veach who went missing after going for a hike near the infamous Area 51. This video gained some popularity because in it, Kenny described that he was searching for a mysterious cave that he once came across, where he felt a very strange force field around it. He described how he felt like he was getting hot from the inside, and as he got closer to it, it got worse, and so he quickly ran away. In this video, he's on the hunt for the cave again, but after the video was posted, Kenny went missing. He was on a 3-day hiking trip to find this cave when suddenly everyone stopped hearing from him. There are many conspiracy theories over this. Some say he found the cave, and if it really did have that force field around it, then it could have obliterated him. People believe that this cave and force field is linked to the mysteriousness of Area 51. Even though Kenny's girlfriend shared that Kenny had depression and suspects that he took his own life, we don't know if that's real or not, as the CIA could be covering up for the fact that Kenny found a way into Area 51. It's super sus that everyone seemingly onto something just takes their own life. In our number 7 spot, we have Isaac Kappy. Isaac Kappy is an American actor that was best known for being in Thor and a bunch of other prominent productions. He's also best known for being a Hollywood whistleblower and speaking about what goes on in Hollywood. You know, the Harvey Weinstein goings on, that kind of thing. Calling out such names as Seth Green and Steven Spielberg. Isaac started to receive death threats and spoke about how he might be killed. Then all of a sudden he made a video talking about how there's now darkness within him and that this video would be his last video. He also spoke about how he was not thinking about taking his own life, in case anyone says that he is, which is what makes this video even more curious. There is much speculation as to whether he ended up taking his own life or whether he was actually killed. All that's clear is this last video of him and all of his YouTube content has been suppressed online. Why? Perhaps because they don't want what he previously spoke about to be public knowledge. Perhaps. In our number 6 spot, we have Obama's security shapeshifter. In 2012, at the US-Israel Policy Conference, President Obama was making a speech, and while he was doing so, the cameras caught something very extraordinary. Every so often, the cameras would pan out into the audience and show the audience, of course, but also the security guards. In one shot, the camera catches one of the bodyguards from behind, looking completely different than he did from the front. We see a bald man with with no ears and a pointy chin. His nose looks short and rounded, and his eyes appear to be dark and sunken in. Most think that because it was so dark and crowded that people would have missed this, and that the camera caught this shapeshifter in a blip of a moment in its true form. But of course, this footage has been suppressed from the public, and people believe the CIA is concerned with this getting out because it confirms an alien race. In our number 5 spot, we have the time traveler from 1938. In this clip, we see a group of girls walking and talking, and one of the girls in particular is walking and talking into what looks to be a cell phone. Yes, a cell phone in 1938. The first cell phone is only known to have been invented in 1973, so the fact that she's talking on what looks to be a flip phone is impossible, right? Well, even though this video has made its rounds online, it's still quite suppressed, and it's surprising how people have still not seen it. Could it possibly be due to the fact that it exposes that time travel may exist? That would certainly be concerning to the CIA. Which brings me to our number 4 spot, the 1928 time traveler. This video clip is from an older movie and time than the time traveler clip before, but it is no less suspicious. It is yet another clip that has been suppressed due to the nature of it possibly being concerning to the CIA or anyone wanting time travel to be covered up. It's a clip from a Charlie Chaplin movie called The Circus, where a rather fancy dressed woman is talking into a device that is being held to her ear. Now you could say, could that not be a walkie-talkie if not a cell phone? Nope. Even the walkie-talkie wasn't invented until the 30s. This woman is without a doubt talking into a device held to her ear, and so if it is not a portable phone, then I have no idea what it is. What do you think she's holding in her hand and talking to? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 3 spot, we have the alleyway shapeshifter. Okay, this is one of the craziest videos I've ever seen of a shapeshifter, and it's wild to me that this video has been suppressed. Well, maybe not wild, because I guess the shapeshifters clearly don't want people to know that they exist, and so, they throw themselves into movie plots like Captain Marvel so you don't think twice about the idea of their existence, and you chalk it up to an idea being something that you just see in movies. So I suppose it's not that surprising that this video is not more known. Anyways, here we have footage of a person that goes into an alleyway that is semi-lit and stands still, and then what appears to be a dark shadow leaves its body and walks away, and the person remains frozen. This clip has been heavily debated for some time now, but apparently it's completely authentic and kinda unexplainable. Of course, the CIA would be concerned about it. In our number 2 spot, we have the NBC Shapeshifter. This is a crazy clip from 1995 that is one of the first reptile men clips you can find on the internet. If you haven't ever heard of the theory of the reptile man, well, it goes like this. People believe that as far back as the ancient Mesopotamia times that reptile people have existed among us humans. A lot of people believe that Hollywood is specifically where a lot of them reside. Anyways, this is a clip of an NBC reporter from the 90s by the name of Isaiah Carey, who was in the middle of filming when he swallowed a grasshopper. If you zoom in to the point where he swallows it, you can observe him having an abnormally large, somewhat pointy tongue, and the color is slightly green. The reporter turned away from the camera right as this happened. Most people think that he turned away from the camera to hide his tongue, which is possible, but one could argue that it's more likely because this is something so gross and embarrassing that happened on live TV. Do you think this is a reptile man, and perhaps the CIA has suppressed this video due to the fact that it could reveal this alien race? Let me know in the comment section down below. In our number 1 spot, we have the fast UFO. This is more footage that the US government released showing an unidentifiable object in the sky. In this footage, you actually see an object moving in the sky, and we can kind of pick up on the fact that it's an unusual shape. This particular UFO is moving pretty fast, and the camera is having a hard time keeping up. There's no question though that this is something that we've never seen before. The Pentagon wouldn't have released it if it didn't feel that it has validity. This was the final of the 3 Pentagon videos that were declassified and shared with us common folk. Oh, why thank you government for telling us that it's possible that alien life has come to Earth. As if we didn't already know this, and as if We are not aware of the fact that you definitely have more footage that you're keeping from us, CIA.
At number 10, we have Kitsune. Now, this one has also been associated with Gumiho from Korean legends or Hulijing from Chinese legends. It is a creature that appears as a fox with shape-shifting abilities, and it's commonly a trickster. In the Korean legends, a Gumiho can freely transform into many things, but most commonly into beautiful women. These Gumiho in female form then set out to seduce boys and eat either their liver or their heart depending on the legend. Both Kitsune and Gumiho have also been recorded as far creepier as well. Some have been recorded to be bloodthirsty half-human half-fox hybrids that lurk in cemeteries. They would wait until night and then dig human hearts out from graves and eat them. At number 9, we have La Cegua. Now this one comes from a Costa Rican legend, and it originated as a device to scare men into being loyal and stay close to home at night. Men would be charmed by La Cegua's beauty as they wander home. She would appear out of a fog with porcelain skin, long black hair, and big dark eyes. Men would just forget about their wives and ask if she needed to be escorted home. They would turn again to look at her beauty, and she had changed. Once they finished their offer, La Cegua would be completely transformed. They would look and she would have turned from beauty to a nightmare, appearing as a monster with a horse's head. She would have flaming red eyes and big yellow teeth. She was rumored to make men go insane and sometimes didn't let them leave with their life. At number 8, we have a lycanthrope, aka werewolf. Lycanthrope? You tell me. But let's just say I'm not talking about the big bad wolf. But let's be real, he had a pretty convincing moment as the grandmother, and is he a shapeshifter? But let's be real, I'm talking about werewolves. While they are not fully pretending to be human, they come up often enough and it would be wrong not to include them on this list. Werewolves are frequently depicted in folklore and often come up as creatures that wreak havoc on the natural world. They are seen as creatures unable to stop themselves from transforming into a bloodthirsty wolfish beast. They got this curse in some lore as a punishment from God, a kind of divine smite against those who provoked their wrath. Other ways of becoming a werewolf or shape-shifting was by wearing an animal skin or drinking water out of the footprint of an animal. Just a little sip and then boom, wolf. I kind of want to try it. Maybe. On to number 7, a selkie. When you think of a water-sea-human hybrid, a mermaid might be what comes to your mind. But they are permanently caught in between. They have a human top half and a fishy lower half, but selkies, on the other hand, they can truly roam the land and sea. Selkies are commonly found in Northern European mythology. Their main form is the seal form, and in order to shapeshift into human form, they need to shed their seal skin. Now, this is risky for selkies because it is rumored that they need their own original seal skin to return to their seal form. But once they're in human form, they have also been known to lure humans into the sea. They seduce people and create illusions to form a false sense of reality, leading the humans into their death out in the sea. At number 6, Encantado. Now this legend comes from the Amazon. The Encantado are said to be a water cryptid that lives in the Amazon River. Most of the time they are a pink river dolphin, but once a year they come out of the river. They shapeshift into a young man in white clothes for a Brazilian celebration in June. The one thing that doesn't change in their form is the blowhole from the dolphin form, so the Encantado have to wear a hat to keep their disguise intact. Allegedly, it is dangerous to see or be near the Encantado at these festivals. This is because they attend the parties in order to seduce, kidnap, or impregnate young women. Just like other stories like these are thought to be a way to convince young women not to trust handsome strangers because they may just be a pink dolphin in disguise. Encantado, a pink dolphin in disguise. On to number 5, Rakshasa. The Rakshasa is a humanoid being in Hindu mythology. It was also later incorporated into Buddhism. Now, the Rakshasa were created by the breath of Brahma, the creator god in Hinduism, when he was asleep. They apparently were so bloodthirsty they started eating Brahma himself. So Vishnu came to his aid and banished the Rakshasa to earth. They were most often depicted as ugly, fierce-looking, and enormous creatures. They were shown with 2 fangs protruding upwards and having sharp, claw-like fingernails. They are mean, growl-like beasts, and have an insatiable desire to eat man, all of the way to the point that they can even smell the scent of human flesh. Some of the more ferocious Rakshasa were shown with flaming red eyes and hair, drinking blood with their palms or from a human skull. Most Rakshasa had magical powers of illusion called Maya, which enabled them to change size at will and assume the form of any creature. Using this, they could disguise themselves as a human. At number 4, the Napura bee. The Napura bee is a ghost that looks human but has no face. They can often feign having human facial features, but can wipe them off like wiping off a chalkboard. An old tale about them called the Napura bee in the koi pond goes like this. A lazy fisherman decided to fish in the imperial koi ponds near the Heian Kaio Palace. Despite being warned by his wife about the pond being sacred and near a graveyard, the fisherman went anyways. On his way to the pond, he is warned by another fisherman not to go there, but he again ignores the warning. Once he's at the spot, he is met by a beautiful young woman who pleads with him not to fish in the pond. He then ignores her and, to his horror, she wipes off her face. Rushing home to hide, he is confronted by what seems to be his wife, who then chastises him for his wickedness before wiping off her facial features as well. Just full on like, Cause like just imagine you're chatting someone up and they give you just one of these and just is going like, but like the face is gone. But on to number 3. Ghoul. The ghoul from Arabic folklore is said to lurk around uninhabited places like cemeteries. It lures people to deserted locations or abandoned places to kill and devour them. It is said to prey on young children, drink blood, steal coins, and eat the dead as well. This may be why the lore says they lurk around cemeteries, since they're trying to eat the dead. Now, after eating their prey, they are said to take on the form of the person they most recently ate. Other tales of the ghoul say it dwells in the desert and can assume the guise of a hyena. Using this form, it is said to lure people into the desert wastes. In the vampire book, The Encyclopedia of the Undead, a ghoul is said to roam throughout the wilderness of Afghanistan and Iran. Number 2. Doppelganger. So there are also superstitions that claim the doppelganger is a non-human entity which can alter its physical appearance to literally become someone else and take their place. Obviously, they are not human beings, but they look just like the person they are trying to mimic. In old lore, it was said that the doppelganger consumed the original person once they looked the exact same and met them. The stories of doppelgangers were used to explain early and misunderstood cases of Alzheimer's. Also, they were used as an answer to severe depression or violent thoughts of mothers. The latter was being used as a justification since it was believed that no mother could ever hurt her own child unless she wasn't truly the mother, just someone else entirely. All in all, the thought of someone in your life being replaced by an entity which only pretends to know you and care about you is pretty creepy. And last but not least, at number 1, the devil. So the devil and demons have believed the best way to get humans to sin is to be among their ranks. Essentially, peer pressure. So to do this, devils and demons will assume human form. They can either possess a human or disguise themselves as one. Old folklore says they could easily be spotted, and they often forgot to hide some of their more prominent features. Features like horns on their head or forked tongues. The devil himself apparently forgot to hide his hooved feet quite a bit. Now, once devils and demons are found out, they usually disappear, but not always. If the human target doesn't renounce them, but instead chooses to make a deal, there could be consequences.
In our number 10 spot, we have the table throwing demon. Okay, here's some crazy footage for you of a possible real life demon. I mean, heck, the Bible has warned us that demons are tricky and they play with us and influence us and make us feel fear. Well, that is seemingly exactly what happens in the video I'm about to show you. Here we have a woman who is sitting in what looks like a banquet hall, and she's on her cell phone when she hears a chair move. She turns around and sees nothing, but then the chair beside her moves and she freaks out and falls on the floor. Then a bunch of chairs and tables begin to move and you see her get so frightened that she tries to stand up and then she falls on the floor again. She could have fainted too, it's kind of unclear. The footage is so wild and it's so clear that this woman isn't an actress and that this isn't edited footage. It's too natural, and I mean, if she is, then man, she deserves an Oscar. If you're liking this video, don't forget to give it a like as it will really help us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Satan. Well, duh, if there was going to be one demon on this list that we all know about, obviously it was going to be Satan himself. Satan was once a guardian cherub, but God found wickedness within him, or so is said in Ezekiel 28:12-15. Luke has also mentioned that Jesus saw Satan fall from heaven like a lightning bolt, and that is how he gained the name of fallen angel. Something that I didn't know until this video though is that apparently Satan does not rule over hell, but is punished and just imprisoned with the other souls in hell. That's interesting. From my understanding, Satan is the king and creator of demons, and these demons have influence and infiltrate society and cause sadness and havoc. So basically, we're living amongst many demons these days. Everywhere you look, everything you hear or read, there's some kind of messaging that hits an emotional chord that makes you feel understood. But then you'll hear something else that is a conflicting perspective, and you also feel understood from that. And the result is that you're left confused, and you feel pulled in many directions, and you will feel vulnerable, and that's when it will be easy to control you. Beware of the influential demons like Satan. In our number 8 spot, we have the shapeshifters. Guys, I'm a little shocked that the Bible subtly points to shapeshifters. I guess I just assumed that this was a modern day conspiracy theory fueled by the Marvel movies, but no, there is evidence to suggest that shapeshifters have been around and spoken about since before the Bible. Mark said, after these things, he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country. He appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country. That's it, they exist. I'm a believer. Also, what's the consensus? Should we just now conclude that Obama's security guard is indeed a shapeshifter? I feel like yes. Who's a believer? Let me know in the comment section below. In our number 7 spot, we have the chair moving demon. Okay, this could be just a ghost or a demon. I mean, who knows? In this clip, you see a girl in perhaps a classroom or a common area as there are computers and lounge chairs, and she seems to be looking at something when suddenly she runs out of the room. Then a few moments later, you see the lounge chair move and the door close. The ghost/demon is having a meeting, so he wanted his privacy, guys. The devil requires privacy. Okay, but seriously, what is this? How is this footage not more mainstream? I'm scared. I hope somebody called a priest after witnessing this footage. This place definitely needs to be cleansed. In fact, we should get the priests of the world to just cleanse the world. We may just need a general world cleansing because clearly the demons are among us, judging by this video. I'm scared. I want my mom. In our number 6 spot, we have the reptile people. Okay guys, we know that there are many references to reptiles in the Bible. I mean, if you don't, then I'm here to tell you that indeed there are. In fact, the Bible starts with Adam and Eve is persuaded by the snake to eat the forbidden fruit. So the stories really begin right away. But there have been evidence of people believing in the reptile people for many centuries, even dating back to ancient Mesopotamia, where they created an artifact called the Ubaid lizard man, which has made people believe that it is possible that they worshipped lizard people, the reptiles. In Revelation 12-9, it is said, quote, "And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." The serpent was thrown down to earth, eh? Sounds a lot like a reptile person confirmation to me. Now, whether or not they are demons, that is the question. There have been way too many reptile Hollywood sightings to count, so beware, folks. In our number 5 spot, we have the lawless one. In the Bible, 2 Thessalonians 2:9, I might have pronounced that wrong, sorry, it's been a while since I've been to church. Thessalonians 2:9, we are warned about the lawless one who is doing the work of Satan, aka a demon. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders. Who exactly this message is referring to? I mean, it could be any number of people in history that promised wonders and things that they could not keep. Historical political leaders that may have tricked the masses. I mean, there have been many, from Genghis Khan to presidents in this day and age. So who's to say who this verse is speaking about, but perhaps at this point this benevolent demon has reincarnated many times over, considering the Bible stories are from thousands of years ago. In our number 4 spot, we have the man that couldn't speak. Demons are spoken about so much in the Bible, and on many accounts, stories are told where it is believed that people have come across these demons. Mark speaks about a demon that made someone's son unable to speak. This demon caused its victim to have epileptic-like seizures, in which he was at times thrown down to wallow on the ground and made to foam at the mouth. No one was able to get rid of this demon but Jesus, after saying to the spirit, "Deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him and enter him no more." This has led a lot of people over the thousands of years to believe that mental illness is really just demonic possession. Obviously, we know better now about what mental illness is, but you may be surprised to hear that there are still a lot of people that believe that multiple personality disorder is demonic possession. In our number 3 spot, we have the parking lot demon. Years ago, a news station in Serbia called Channel 4 reported the wildest story. Apparently, a woman was in a parking lot when suddenly something invisible started chasing her, and whatever it was jumped from one lamp post to the other. She was so frightened that she went to the police to report that a maniac was chasing her. The police took a look at the footage and couldn't believe what they saw. It looked to be a transparent human running back and forth. Some believe it to be someone from another universe glitching into ours, but the woman swears that it was chasing her, so some believe that it was a demon. It's so crazy to see, and I read that the Bible warned us about a spirit called Abaddon, whom is the leader of the demons, and honestly this could very well be proof of one of the Abaddon demons, as this woman was definitely terrorized by something. In our number 2 spot, we have the demon selfie. This is a picture of a demon and a boy, and it's crazy to see. This pic isn't even blurry, so that makes it more horrifying. Basically, a mom from Pennsylvania named Heather was taking a picture of her son. When she looked at the photo, she saw a mysterious person with black eyes creeping out from behind him. She said that there was no one in sight when she was taking her photo but her son. So that is ridiculously insane. This looks like a demon porcelain doll in my opinion. Oh my gosh, that is just the most terrifying. Imagine if she was home alone with her son. I truly hope not. I would never ever want to be home alone again if this happened to me. In our number 1 spot, we have the Brazilian Demon Man. Yo, this has to be the scariest thing I've ever seen. Okay, maybe not, but it is still terrifying to think that multiple people witnessed this. Okay, so in 2015, many reports were being filed about a strange demon-like wolf man in Brazil. It started popping up everywhere, and then someone managed to review street footage and got it captured in a still shot. Here we have a man who looks like he's part wolf or straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, to be honest. He has long pointy ears and strange wolf-like legs and appears to have a small tail. The shot is blurry as it's night and pitch black, but if this isn't a demon, then I don't know what is. This is definitely one of the demons that the Bible warned us about. Hey Brazilians, beware.
First up in our number 10 spot, text messages. According to a Catholic priest named Stephen Rossetti, demons are managing to figure out how to adapt to our new technologies at an incredible rate. In the olden days, sure, you inhabit a body, scream, convulse, terrorize. I mean, that was pretty much what the job entailed. But as the world changes, so do the demons and how they torture us. We might be familiar with entities flickering lights, but according to Rossetti, they can text through the possessed soul if they choose to. Rossetti claims he has personally seen 3 cases in which a demon has texted the family or friends of the possessed person, the worst of which read, "Her torments start now. Priest all night. We will make her bleed." Ooh. I couldn't find what happened to this poor possessed girl after, but considering Rossetti claims to perform 20 exorcisms a week, I'm hoping he was able to save her from the terrifying threats. Next up at number 9, Patrick Antle. As Patrick tells it, when he was about 17, he decided to sneak out of the house so that he could attend a party. Now, he got out of the house and made it to the party just fine, but it was what he saw returning home that shook him to his core. At about 2 AM, he was walking down a familiar street when all of a sudden he saw a house that he swears had never existed until that night. He noticed that the garage door was open, and just when he was about to keep moving, 2 beating red eyes appeared in the darkness. Terrified, he froze, and then all of a sudden, like from a nightmare, he claims he heard a gnarly voice inside his head saying, "Turn away now or your body will burn in the deep fires of hell, and your soul will be tormented for eternity." He said his body immediately was freed and he sprinted home as fast as he could. After about a month, he worked up the courage to walk down that street once again, and when he did, the mysterious house was gone and he never saw it again. Coming in at number 8, message in an exorcism. Exorcisms are the most tried and true way that the church has dealt with demonic possession, and though many terrifying things can happen during one, a demon speaking through their victim is at the top of the list for me. About 30 years ago, an American televangelist was on his way to Russia to help a possessed woman, and for some reason, I have no clue why, he decided to bring along his roughly grade 3 aged son. When he arrived, she was already making strange noises, had bloodshot eyes, and would randomly convulse at a moment's notice. He wasted no time before beginning to try and rid the woman of the demon, and according to the son, who witnessed the entire thing, during her exorcism she turned to look directly at him and in a deep, manly voice said, "This is my domain. You are not allowed here. You will suffer the lake of fire for your heresy." Luckily for her, the exorcism appeared to be successful, but the words haunted his son for the rest of his life. Next up at number 7, Demon Defeated. This one is kind of a different vibe than any of the others on this list, but still unsettling all the same. Back in 1840, Gottlieb Dietis, I may have butchered that, a devout Lutheran woman, suddenly started to worry people in her village. Concerned she was being abused, a doctor decided to stay the night in her house to make sure she was alright, and after one night it was clear that Dietis and her house were haunted by something truly evil. Dietis said she began experiencing the ghost of a terrifying woman holding her dead son haunt her each night, and people of the town said the possessions kept getting worse and worse. Eventually she got the attention of Reverend Blumhard, who claims the woman demon would speak directly through Dietis to him when he tried to perform exorcisms, but still he persisted. Eventually he was successful, and upon ridding Dietis of her demons, Blumhard swears the demon screamed, "Jesus is Victor!" right before exiting her body for good. Coming in at number 6, a death sentence. More and more it seems demons are deciding to contact people through our devices. Now, they're known to reach us through texts or emails, but in 1980, this demon managed to hack into a Commodore CBM 8032. Manfred Bowden, the owner, was working on a biorhythm program when all of a sudden he noticed numbers and figures appearing that he was not inputting. Lines of text he had already programmed were changing, and then, like from a horror movie, a sentence started to form. It read, "I am here. You will die, Manfred. 1982. Accident. August 16th, 1982. Yours, Klaus." Bowden was entirely freaked out, but the entity wasted no time before sending another saying, "Heart attack." Ugh. This sent Bowden into a spiral awaiting for the fateful day. Thankfully, he did not experience the fate that he feared, but after that he became obsessed and started trying to contact entities from other dimensions. But he never received messages quite as clear as his alleged death sentence. Coming in at number 5, Mirror Mirror. Back in 2017, a now deleted Reddit account shared a spooky encounter from when they were about 11 or 12. According to the user, they were staying with their grandparents, and although they loved staying there, there was one very unfortunate bit: their spare room was in the basement. According to the user, every time they stayed over, stranger and stranger things started happening. Things began flying across the room, objects would move from where they had last left it, and they would even find crumbs from snacks that they didn't eat. But most terrifying of all were the messages left on the mirror in the middle of the night. One night they saw something that particularly spooked them, and they went up to the mirror to get a closer look. In the mirror's reflection, they saw something behind them, but when they turned around, nothing was there. They looked back into the mirror to see the sheets moving behind them, and thankfully they had the smarts to get the hell out of there. From there on out, they slept on the couch when they visited their grandparents, as it was clear something had already decided the guest bedroom belonged to them. Coming in at number 4, Anneliese Michael. A truly tragic story from 1975, Anneliese Michael is one of the most well-known stories of demonic possession to this day. She grew up a devout Christian, but strangely one day when she was 16, she passed out, and when she woke up she was never the same again. Originally she was diagnosed with epilepsy and depression after a series of terrifying convulsive episodes. However, Annalise believed she was possessed, and her family began looking for alternate methods to heal her, ceasing to take all prescribed medications. After a long search with many turning them down, they found a priest who agreed to perform exorcisms on her, and in fact ended up performing a whopping 67 sessions over 10 months. During one of the exorcisms, a demon spoke through Annalise saying, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on." As the months went by, she stopped eating as the demons instructed her and eventually died of malnutrition. The priests involved were ultimately convicted with manslaughter and condemned for encouraging the young woman to stop her medication in the first place. Next up at number 3, a Ouija board. While on an overnight school trip to a haunted house, one girl says she received a bone-chilling message from a spirit. Now, I'm not sure exactly whose idea it was to take a group of young girls to a haunted house as a school trip, but alas, here we are. According to the girl, somewhere around 4 p.m. they decided to try out a Ouija board, and I mean, what could go wrong there? She claims they spoke to a girl who died in the 1800s, and when they asked the spirit to show herself, it simply replied saying 11:35. Jump ahead a few hours, and at exactly 11:35, the teacher saw a girl standing in the window staring right at her. The lights flickered and a constant loud knocking was heard all over the house. They asked the board if it was her, to which it replied yes. The next morning, they were all really freaked out about what had happened, but thought it was all behind them. That was until they found the house scattered with notes all torn from the teacher's notebook that read, "Come back soon." The girls booked it out of there and never returned. Coming in at number 2, a visit from the grave. In 1977, the Chicago Fire Department was called to put out a fire at an apartment. Once they were able to put out the flames, they were horrified to find the body of Teresita Bassa, a 47-year-old woman, under her mattress with a knife through her chest. There were no signs of forced entry, and so eventually the case just went cold. That was until one night when Remy Chua, a co-worker of Bassa at the hospital, was visited by her ghost in a dream. Chua said Bassa revealed the face of her killer and that it was another hospital employee named Alan Showery. From there, Chua says she began to be possessed by Bassa, and using Chua as a vessel, the entity said, "Tell them Al came to fix my television and then he killed me." Eventually they were able to convince authorities to take another look at the case, and Alan was indeed eventually charged with 22 years in prison for killing Teresita. So maybe not a demon leaving a message, but certainly a message from the beyond, no less. And last up in our number 1 spot, haunted toys. One couple named Mark and Marianne say that they experienced one of the most terrifying moments in their lives when one night, for whatever reason, a demon attached itself to some of the toys belonging to their son. The toys began moving around the room almost as if they were dancing with each other, when suddenly they would start hurling towards the couple out of nowhere. Soon the entity took over a magnetic doodle board and began leaving threatening messages saying, "Die, die, you're dead," and RIP. As the demon continued, it began taking over their computer, sending vulgar and untraceable emails to the couple promising Marianne that "I'll come for you when you're asleep" and that she was going to die today. Maybe most terrifying of all was when they would be out of the house. Marianne would get phone calls that when she answered were completely silent, but the source of the call was their landline inside their locked and empty house. The nightmare continued for nearly a year until one day, out of nowhere, it stopped completely and never returned again. Thank God.
Starting our list off at number 10, the Red Door. Okay, if you're a fan of Haunting of Hill House, this first one here should tickle your fancy. Here we go. I'm terrified already. This is some hospital footage because, you know, why not? This video starts off with a flickering light, but as the person filming walks down the hallway, the door at the end begins to open and close repeatedly. Like this, check it out. Now, once they reach said red door that was opening and, slamming shut, they realize nothing is there and it doesn't really go anywhere. The door just leads to pipes, like water supply pipes in case of emergencies, you know what I mean? So they're inspecting it to see what have caused the opening and closing when they began to hear banging coming from another door further down the hallway. And then, of course, like Looney Tunes, they go and check out that one as well. When they check it out, they find nothing and nobody. Honestly, you guys, when I saw the door at the end, when it didn't lead anywhere, I was upset. I was like, oh, someone's faking it. Maybe someone's there, doing something on the other side. Nope, just terrifying. There we go. Number 9, historic home tape. No, not one of those home tapes, you freaks. I'm not exactly sure what happened or who these people are, but something's going on in here. You know what? I'm tapping out. Let's move on. Number 8, Barton Mansion Ghost. This video is from 2001. Somebody explored through the Barton Mansion in California because, like I said earlier, some people like doing that for some reason. This mansion is said to be the home of tons of sinister happenings, satanic rituals, paranormal activity. It's even said that a demon haunts the top floor. It's kind of cool though, demon haunting the top floor. He's like, I shot to the top bunk, and then just floats around. It's said that the night before this video was taken, a group had broken into the abandoned basement, and there they found a creepy configuration of stones surrounding a piece of meat. They came back the next day to take some more video footage of the place, and the part of the video that I wanted to show you is basically a first-person view as somebody explores through said mansion. And it's when they spot something that none of us wanted to see, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Here we go. What exactly did he see there? I have no idea. If you have any ideas, put in the comments down below because I won't be able to sleep. Great. Number 7, clown sightings. This footage comes again from another home surveillance camera, and I feel like these things always catch the creepiest happenings. I just did a doorbell camera video where the dude's licking the guy's doorbell. That's the worst thing I've seen in ages. This time, when the homeowner went to check their footage, they were greeted by an extremely creepy clown. Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember years back when there was like a clown craze. Everyone just wanted to be clowns for some reason and hang out next to the highway. That was weird. I'm hoping that's where this video comes from, but again, there's no explanation, so we just gotta dive in and wonder.
Grabs a pumpkin and then tears it apart. The clown stares awkwardly at the camera before disappearing into the darkness.
I like that the reporter commented that the clown looked awkward at the camera before leaving. Yeah, awkward. That's for sure the word I would use for this encounter. Awkward. Not terrifying. Number 6, Blockbuster Ghost. Oh, a classic. For those of you who don't know, before the age of streaming and, LimeWire, Netflix, all that amazing technology, we had to go to a store with our legs and our families. We had to put on our winter coats to go rent a movie. And sometimes we got there and there was only widescreens left of said movie. That was always the worst. You're like, I guess. I would go in and hide a video sometimes, and then come back with my family, we'd find it, and then rent it. Now, as many good memories that rest there in Blockbuster, there's also some haunting ones. This surveillance camera footage shows an employee, after closing, restocking some of the shelves in the store, and then they notice something flying off one shelf while they're stocking it. And when he finishes stocking one shelf, he moves on to the next, but one video on the shelf he just worked on immediately falls off. Okay, maybe he put the video on the shelf in a, awkward angle. It wasn't a tight 45, maybe it was one of those and it kind of slipped down. It happens. But when he walks away, it flies off the shelf again. Now at this point, I would have already dipped, I would have signed out, maybe even quit my job, who knows. But he goes back, picks the video up, and he walks away again, but this time a video on the other shelf falls down right in front of him, and then as he reaches to pick that video up, another video falls, and then a third one falls. And then he understandably runs off after that. That's just, yeah, to be honest, at that point, I would leave. I would leave after the first video fell, if I'm being honest. Number 5, witch caught on tape. I am terrified of witches. I don't like this one. Okay. This video comes from Mexico and it's said to be a sighting of a witch flying through the air. I love this video. I saw this long before I started working here and it's been rent-free, just sitting right in there. I don't like how slow she's going too. Like, she's not in any rush. The people who recorded the video said they could see the figure wearing a cape, which is why of course we all assume that it's a witch. And also, she's flying through the air, so there's that too. Just to add another layer of to this already kind of weird video, police officers from the area also explained that they had seen some sort of witch-like creature before this footage was even captured. They said they saw some sort of creature dressed in all black with huge claws, and it had their head hanging down low. Like, imagine a police officer, I'd be like, what, go get that thing then. What are you talking about? Is that a gargoyle? I've seen Lord of the Rings. Can we close the city? That's terrifying. That's a demigorgon. Number 4, creeper in the back. Not creeper in the front. That's a different video. This is creeper in the back. Here we go. With so much of the world working from home and needing to do Zoom calls all the time, and now we're just comfortable and no one wants to go back to the office, so we're just gonna keep doing it forever, I guess. After you see this clip, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder every time you're in a meeting in the future. Yeah, you don't want anything like that creeping around your house at any point. When you're looking or not looking, honestly. The sad part is that guy looked like he was having a good time. Maybe he got a promotion on this Zoom call, you know, whatever was going on. He was loving it until, you know, the scary demon apparatus cloud monster thing appeared, of course. Then it kind of went downhill. Now I don't know what the aftermath is of this video, so if you want peace or sleep tonight, I can't help you. I'm not the guy for you. I just report the videos and go, that's scary, next. Number 3, the clip. This is a video that's titled Clip 95 MP4, and after watching it, honestly, I'm good with the other 94, to be honest. I wish I could explain to you guys what's going on in this video, but again, like the rest of them, I have no idea. That's why I included them. They're really baffling. It's a weirdly put together VHS tape, montage, whatever, that features some strange looking people in masks, a weird thing that maybe looks like a clock, and then a whole bunch of, it's just bad vibes, you know, Chris? Just bad vibes going on. It's just not the mood for us. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to find out, again, like the rest. I don't know what's going on with the clock symbolism here either. It's very specific. I feel like I'm late watching this video. Like I have like the anxiety going on now. Number 2, the chair. Not to be confused with the WWE wrestling move, the chair. This is way less fun, this one. I grew up watching the big comfy couch. I love comfy couches and comfy chairs. I'll sit on both all day long. A rocking chair as an adult, I'll be asleep in minutes. I love this. Except for when it's haunted and it just rocks by itself. Then in that case, I don't want to buy that. No thank you. This is a video of exactly that. It's a chair that is said to have been purchased, used just a couple of days prior, and let me tell you, I hope they kept a receipt. My grandma had a rocking chair, and she said that it would move on its own from time to time. Isn't that terrifying? My grandma told me that when I was like 8. And finally, number 1, VHS for sale. This VHS tape was found at an estate sale that was being held in a barn. Now the person who uploaded this tape found them in 10 boxes that they had purchased, amongst, you know, other things such as records, rusted tools, old paint cans, just borderline garbage, and they're like, ah yes, I'll paint it a different color and sell it for $1 more. And then, you know, sure. This video shows somebody walking through some sort of mildly wooded area in the daytime, which, okay, yeah, fine, that's all great and dandy, but then it cuts to a night scene immediately, and that's when the uncomfortable feelings start to rise up. That's when I feel like I'm gonna throw up on my keyboard watching this video. I have absolutely no idea what the white thing being dragged is, but hey, guess what? I don't want to find out. There we go. What a fun list that was.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the mysterious beam. Pretty recently, scientists explained that they captured a mysterious beam of energy that was coming from the star that is the closest known star to the sun, Proxima Centauri. This star is small and low mass and is located around 4.2 light years away from us. The thing about this star is that it has one rocky exoplanet that is 17% larger than Earth in its habitable zone, which would make liquid water a possibility on the planet. This planet's habitability has been disputed throughout the years, but this signal could be a sign that it may be even more habitable than any of us know. Scientists explained that the signal shifted while it was being observed, which mimicked the shift caused by a movement of a planet. They're taking extra precautions to figure out what exactly caused this shift in case it was some sort of mundane source. It will, of course, take some time to figure out, but it's all very exciting. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Venus cloud. Last year in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. Firstly, can we just take a second to really think about how cool of a job an astrobiologist has? Anyway, the new findings were pointing to the potential of the presence of phosphine in the clouds. Phosphine is a rare and usually poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure and the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. Two separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs. In our number 8 spot today, we have Uma. Okay, so this is one piece of evidence that actually has scientists fighting over what is going on with it. So a few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it Uma, and it was widely agreed that it was an interstellar comet that had swung out from around another star. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling it and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started, because they just don't know why. Avi Loeb, who's a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail, which is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that accelerates by being pushed by solar radiation. Other scientists didn't agree with this and instead said that it's possible that hydrogen ice could have melted off of the object in a way that would mimic a rocket engine or something of that nature, but in August of last year, Avi wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. I guess we just have to wait it out while the scientists debate and gather more evidence to really know what's going on behind this one. In our number 7 spot today, we have the NASA Viking experiment. This is one of the more debated ones on today's list, but that does not mean it isn't evidence. In 1976, NASA's Viking landers tested the soil on Mars and found some chemicals that could be attributed to signs of life. The soil was mixed with radioactive carbon-labeled nutrients and then tested for the production of radioactive methane gas. The test ended up receiving a positive result, which could indicate that something in the soil is metabolizing the nutrients to produce the gas. Despite further efforts, there still hasn't been any life found, but one of the scientists who worked on this original project, and others as well, stand by what they found and argued that the technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to find the key evidence of life. Hopefully with the new Perseverance rover that landed recently, we'll be able to find the signs on Mars that we have been looking for. In our number 6 spot today, we have black holes. When we think of black holes, we usually think of how absolutely terrifying they are, but that may be changing. There has actually been the discovery of a planet that is floating around a black hole. The forces around the hole are also providing heat for the planet as well, but there is one catch, and that is the fact that the planet needs to orbit at the speed of light. This would mean that a second on that planet would be hours on ours, which is kind of difficult to comprehend. The planet would have to be in what is called the Goldilocks zone though, because if it's too far from the black hole, it'll be too cold and there won't be any liquid water, but if it's too close, it will of course be sucked into the black hole by the gravitational forces. It's definitely a pretty crazy idea, but it is possible that there could be some life in this situation. In our number 5 spot today, we have fossilized microbes. Another piece of controversial evidence that came from Mars was announced in 1996. NASA scientists announced that they had potentially found what appeared maybe fossilized microbes in a lump of Martian rock. It is likely that this rock came off during some sort of Mars collision and just casually floated around the solar system for 15 million years before landing in Antarctica in 1984. Just casual space stuff. After analyzing the rock, it was revealed that it contained organic molecules and small specks of mineral magnetite, which is sometimes found in the bacteria on Earth. And upon further analysis with an electron microscope, it was claimed that there were signs of nanobacteria. Since then, some claim that the magnetite wasn't that similar to those found in bacteria, and there is a belief that the signs of nanobacteria could have been grown in a lab. In our number 4 spot today, we have UFO footage. Remember last year when the Navy released footage of UFOs, but we were in a global pandemic, so we didn't really have time to freak out about it? Well, let's freak out about it now, because what the heck was captured on those videos? The US Navy released footage last year where they had captured video of some sort of wingless aircraft that was traveling at hypersonic speed. Of course, people are wary to believe that this is true signs of alien life and alien visitors, but the thing is, we simply just don't really know what this is. We know it's not something that is known to us yet, So this could definitely be a sign of some sort of alien life, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In our number 3 spot today, we have this bacterial experiment. So we've talked a bit on today's list about how we tend to think of life only being able to exist on other planets that are similar to ours with a similar atmosphere within a certain distance of a star, but we've also discussed how this more narrow thinking might not be the best scenario. On Earth, most living creatures require oxygen to live, but the problem with a lot of planets is that there's far more hydrogen and helium. Last year, scientists decided to take 2 different bacteria. One was E. coli, which can be found in the guts of humans, and ordinary yeast, which is used in things like bread and beer. With these 2 bacteria, they tried to see if they could live in different environments. When placed within flasks that contained either pure hydrogen or pure helium, they still managed to grow, just at a slower pace. This evidence goes to show that there might be living organisms that we haven't found yet because we are just looking in the wrong places. In our number 2 spot today, we have the fact that they might have died off. This one is a bit disappointing, to be honest, but it basically is just a theory that it's probably pretty likely that there were aliens at some point, but since the universe is so old, they might have already died out. All life and cultures rise and fall, and researchers put together a model last year that would give more insight into the likelihood of this theory. They took things into account like sun-like stars that are not too close or too far from planets that are similar to Earth, as well as how frequently there are deadly radiation blasting supernovas, which of course would prove to be a huge problem for life forms, as well as the time that it takes for intelligent life to evolve, provided all the conditions are right. And once the evolution has taken place, how long would it take for a tool-bearing form of life to then destroy itself? That's a lot of factors to consider, and through all of this, it was found that the highest likelihood of life before ours in the Milky Way emerged around 5.5 billion years ago, which would place that before our planet was even formed. This, of course, would have provided plenty of time for all of the events I just mentioned to have occurred. I hope this one isn't true, because I really do hope that there are aliens out there. In our number 1 spot today, we have Europa. One of Jupiter's moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it, and in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that it's possible that alien microbes might be responsible for the red color. The surface of the moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and compounds to make the data make sense. There are some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have a red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for the color on this moon. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where they are located. Some geological activity on the moon could then push them closer to the surface, where they are then flash frozen in place.
Starting our list off at number 10, Tyson fight glitch. Alright, this one takes place in 1995, and it may be a glitch, but it also could be a time traveler. Who knows? Both are always fun. This video is from a Mike Tyson fight, and while Tyson is of course the star, the center of attention in this entire video, there is a person in the audience who has us scratching our heads when we look back and watch. This fight, like I said, takes place in 1995, but when you peek into the audience, it appears as though someone is taking their own video on a cell phone or some sort of smartphone. This gadget that they're holding doesn't look like most cameras from the time and very closely resembles our smartphone cameras from today, with, you know, the lens not being in the center but more off to the side. Imagine having this video on your phone in 1995. You're like, hi world star, I'd like to deposit a video. It's gonna get me a lot of views. It's great, it's a really good one. Number 9, the reflection glitch. This video comes from TikTok, of course, and it shows one very confused driver in traffic. Yeah, this is more than fair. This man started filming in a car that was slightly ahead of him in the next lane because he noticed something was off. Again, I wouldn't advise you to pull out your phone and start filming while you're driving, but luckily we got this video. The man is in a convertible and his reflection can be seen in one of his side mirrors. That's very normal. But you can also see that the man is moving his head around in this car, which is normal. But what isn't normal is the fact that his reflection is not moving along with him. So, could be a vampire, could be a shapeshifter, could be a ghost. I have no idea. It's really one of those things that you have to see to believe. Check it out. Number 8, plane glitch. Planes are wild. I have no idea how they work at all. They stay up there somehow, okay. Sometimes they just look like they're floating on the exact same spot, and it's so trippy. But this one here, this one is pretty weird. This video comes from Moscow, and it shows what looks like a plane completely stuck in mid-air. Like, really stuck. Check it out. Imagine just casually driving down the road and then you saw this just frozen in the sky. I would think so many scary things. I guess the only appropriate response here would be to capture it on video, because how else would you tell a coworker about this? You know what I mean? Without sounding crazy. I'm gonna assume that this is some sort of optical illusion or some sort of wind trick here, but it's just very strange to see a plane that is that close to the ground that isn't either ascending or descending. It's just kind of there. Is it possible that the clear skies made it more difficult to see the movement of the plane? I don't know. Someone help me out in the comments down below, because I can't sleep. Number 7, another plane glitch. This video comes from a flight to Edinburgh, which is a flight that I've done many times myself. It's beautiful. The passenger began taking a video of the propeller on the side of the plane when they caught this strange glitch in the matrix. More than fair. This propeller is of course moving, or else, well, we'd probably know, but it appears as though it is not. How fun is that? It's a fun, scary optical illusion when you're thousands of feet into the air. This is due to the speed of the propeller and the camera's shutter speed, you know, being synchronized, looking a little bit funky. Now we see this often with helicopters, but to see it in a plane that high up from your point of view, that's a bit different. That's a bit more jarring. Number 6, Yanni and Laurel. Remember this Yanni Laurel thing back in 2018? I'm still talking about it. It still fucked me up. I heard Yanni for like 2 weeks, and then one day I listened back and then it was Laurel all of a sudden, and then my life changed forever. Couldn't go back. This got everybody talking. What is this phenomenon that happens? Is this a glitch in the Matrix? How can you hear one thing and then a completely different sound moments later? The dress fiasco as well. Black and blue, white and gold. We see it often. What the hell is actually happening here?
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
While many believe that these viral illusions are proof that we're living in a simulation. And while these arguments are fun, they really just prove that we perceive reality in our own individual way. Everybody is living an individually perceived reality, so sometimes it doesn't align across the board. Sometimes I hear Laurel while you hear Yanni. And now I can't go back, and now I always hear that stuck in my head. It's just Laurel. God, I hated this. Number 5, rain glitch. This one comes from Paris, when a man decided to take this video one day when the weather was acting up. Anytime you film weather, you always know it's gonna be a bad time. First of all, it's not abnormal for rain to hit one part of a city while other parts stay dry with clear skies. I've been there before. It's trippy, it's kind of fun, whatever. But this one here, this one takes the cake. It's just raining in one spot, like literally one specific spot. One tiny spot is absolutely getting poured down on, seemingly out of nowhere. But everywhere else is not. It's just a casual, nice day. Now at first I thought that maybe someone from above was pouring water, maybe, because that's what people do, I guess, in their spare time. But the video does pan up and you see nothing above this random rainfall, so we can check that off our boxes. If there's a scientific explanation for this, please tell me in the comments, because again, I have no idea what's going on here. I can't help you. All I have to say is hit the thumbs up, you know, all that good shit, but a scientist, please help me in the comments. Number 4, manhole cover glitch. I'm not sure if these have the same name in every country or whatever, but this video is in reference to a manhole cover. You know those really heavy metal lids that go on top of holes on the ground that leads to sewers? I don't know, Mario stomps on them in Mario Sunshine and then he pops up somewhere else in the city. Those. They're designed to be extremely heavy, so of course people can't just waltz into the sewer systems whenever they feel like it, which is probably a good thing. This isn't the Victorian era anymore, we don't want to be down there. But this video would make it seem like otherwise. This video is very short, but it shows one of these covers just bouncing up and down as though it's 1, lightweight, and 2, there's air coming up from underneath it, just bouncing it around. It would take a lot of air to do this, considering the typical cover weighs 200. In September 2019, a Buffalo, New York resident caught this extremely eerie and uncomfortable glitch in the Matrix. A woman was driving past a park when she needed to take out her camera and record what was going on because it looked that messed up. I mean, fair, more than fair. A bunch of people in the park were just completely frozen still. They were just like, out of nowhere. And it wasn't like a group of people in the park who were doing like a social experiment or like some sort of weird piece of performance art, anything like that involved a lot of people or something being completely still. I don't know, it's like a flash mob that doesn't move. Is that a thing? That's the only explanation that I can think of. A flash mob that doesn't dance or move. They're like 3, 2, 1. The most boring flash mob on the planet. It reminds me of the scene in Logan when everybody's stuck. That's terrifying. That's a situation you don't want to be part of. That's not good. Yeah, do you see what I mean by this being the creepiest video ever? Everyone's just stuck, standing where they are. What's going on here? Have you seen this? Someone tell me. I need answers. down there. I need answers right now, and photos of Spider-Man. Number 2, are birds real? Apparently there's a huge thing going on right now where people don't believe that birds are real. There's thousands of people who are gathering outside and protesting against birds. I don't know what's going on. This glitch comes from a Reddit user called AmerXPOO from the time that they captured some birds behaving very strangely. So think what you want, but I think birds are real. Whatever. I'll let you take a look at the clip first and then we'll talk shop afterwards. When I first watched this, I 100% thought that it was photoshopped. I truly cannot believe that I was seeing this because there's just no way, right? From what you're seeing, these are animals. From the coordination of the flying all the way to the ripples of the color changes, I thought this was fake the entire time. It's not. As it turns out, this is actually perfectly explainable. This is called a murmur, and it basically is a defensive posture that birds take. Truly one of the coolest things that I've ever seen, hence why I thought that it was unbelievable. And there are more videos of it that you can actually look up, and I implore you to because it's fascinating. This is like bird choreography. This is next level. People don't believe that birds are real, and videos like this make me agree. Yeah, fair. 1 point for the bird Gryffindor. Are seagulls real? Pigeons aren't real. Pigeons are fucking weird. And finally, number 1, twins named Jim. Back in 1979, a set of twins were reunited. They were 39 at the time, and this was of course a big moment in their lives because for 37 years they barely knew of each other's existence. Yeah, that's pretty sad. When they did finally meet, the long lost twins had more in common than anybody ever thought. For starters, both had been named Jim. I spoiled that one in the fun title there, but both of these Jims, they loved math and carpentry. Okay. Both also had jobs in security. Okay. Their ex-wives were both named Linda. Okay. And they've since both married a woman named Betty. That's so many coincidences, I have no idea what's going on. Imagine meeting another you and he's like, oh yeah, I love knitting and Autobots. What are the odds? No way, that's way too eerie. That's a glitch in the Matrix or an alien clone. Something's not right here. I don't know. I'm glad you guys found each other, but maybe you weren't supposed to. Know what I mean? I've seen some movies. I've seen Black Mirror. That's all I'm saying.
Coming in at number 10, we have reptilian shapeshifters. This has to be one of the most bizarre and talked about conspiracy theories out there. If you don't know, I will give you guys a quick rundown. Former sportscaster David Icke decided one day that he was done telling people what the score of last night's footy game was and wanted to warn the world about reptilian aliens that have come from another dimension and have infiltrated every level of elite infrastructure that we have. These shapeshifters are called Anunnaki, and everyone from Kanye West to the Pope to Bill Clinton is one of them. They want nothing more than to steal your life force and see all of us suffer so they can feed off our suffering or something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. If you want some more details on this, you should check out one of the many insane books that David Icke has written on the matter. He claims that he has seen these shapeshifters shift shapes on live television, but it doesn't seem that he has any sort of plan to stop them other than don't use 5G networks. I mean, if you're gonna be the guy who tells us all the problems, you gotta bring in a few solutions. We need doers, not complainers. Coming in at number 9, we have immortals. If lizard people in all major industries weren't enough for you, how about immortals? At least immortals aren't inherently evil, but it's still spooky to think that someone can live forever, because it begs the question, how do they live forever? Is there some sort of ritual or spell that they have to follow? Do they drink the blood of virgins? Or maybe she's born with it, maybe she's Maybelline. But the talk of famous and rich people accessing the fountain of youth has been talked about for centuries. It has most recently been spoken about when people bring up side-by-side pictures of people like Keanu Reeves and Conan O'Brien with their ancient doppelgangers. So what do you think at home? Do you think there are rich and famous people who have found a way to never die and will walk the earth until the sun explodes and our solar system ceases to exist? Or do you think the chances of finding someone who looks like you are pretty high because it happens all the time? There's a bunch of you at home who are watching this who know someone who looks like me. He's Lenny Kravitz. Coming at number 8, we have Veronica Cedar. I feel like if you were born with superpowers, it would make your life so much simpler because you wouldn't have to make any career choices or wonder about what your place is in the world. You would have two options, become a hero or become a villain. Well, that's at least how I see it in my head. If I wanted real answers, I should just go ask Veronica Cedar. Now, Veronica didn't have the coolest superpower ever, but she still had something that was better than nothing. She could see 20 times better than the average person. Like, she could see people from miles away. She could pick up individual markings on buildings that most people couldn't see at all. Now, the question is, did this ability make her life more simple, more complicated, or did it not change anything anything at all. Coming in at number 7, we have virtual reality. This seems like something that should be the natural progression of technology. We should eventually be able to create worlds inside goggles so that people can abandon their boring lives and venture deep into wondrous worlds that may be more fulfilling than living in the real world. But a digital world that you can slap onto your face that is so real it could be indistinguishable from real life sounds like something pulled right out of the SAP Foundation. Even though we are not at that stage yet where we have VR goggles and software so perfect it can replace real life, we are probably going to get there within our lifetime. Also, the progress into VR tech has manifested the question of whether or not we are currently in a simulation and everything is fake. And if this is indeed a simulation, I would like to know what the cheat codes are because I want an upgrade for my life. This Corona DLC that has been updated into the world has not been my favorite. Next time, let's get something that gives me superpowers. Coming in at number 6, we have the asp caterpillar. This crazy critter has worked its way onto this list for 2 reasons. The first being that it has a very strange plume of hair that surrounds it. This bug looks like it was pulled right off your favorite anime character's head and then was given life by another anime character. And the second reason that I've chosen this insect to don the number 6 spot is the fact that it is extremely venomous. This thing won't kill you, but the spines that are hidden in its cool hairdo will send some pain through your body that will give childbirth a run for its money. Coming in at number 5, we have the Voynich manuscripts. An old text that no one can figure out is the perfect thing for the SCP Foundation. The Voynich manuscript is a codex that has some lovely drawings of plants on it that no one has ever seen before, and it's in a language that no one has ever seen before, and it's all locked away in a code that no one has ever been able to get to the bottom of. There are a few theories as to what could be going on with this. Some say that it could be the work of a dark wizard who hid his spells away in a secret language. Others say this could be an alien text, and some say it's all crap. Coming in at number 4, we have ghosts and demons. Are they real? Are they not? Who knows, but enough people believe in them to have everyone freaked out. I think we all have a friend who is convinced that ghosts are real, who swears that they have encountered them. There's also countless stories of people being possessed by spirits. The movie The Exorcist is based on a real possession story, and sometimes at night it can feel like someone is lingering close to you even though it seems like no one is around you. Well, let's just hope if ghosts and demons are real, they only like to be cool and do cool things, and they don't want to harvest our souls for their own enjoyment. At number 3, we have artificial intelligence. Now, AI is still at the starting stages. We can create AI to do simple tasks like recognize faces or sort information. It's nowhere close to the self-teaching, all-knowing, dangerous God state that everyone is afraid of. But you have to admit that AI is the exact kind of thing that would be logged away in the SCP Foundation, and there has been some signs of intelligence coming through artificial intelligence systems. Some eggheads over at Facebook decided they wanted to see what would happen if 2 separate AIs could talk to each other, and they quickly developed their own language that communicated way faster and way more efficiently than any known human language. So if we do get to the point where AI is running loose, just know that we won't stand a chance. Coming in at number 2, we have DMT, probably the most intense psychoactive drug on the planet, and the crazy thing is that it's something that naturally produces in your brain. DMT, also known as dimethyltryptamine, is a chemical that is found in all plants, animals, and living things on the planet. It is produced in a pure form right inside your brain and released in large doses when you're born, when you die, and released in small doses when you dream. People have found a way to consume DMT through 2 different methods. Either through an ayahuasca ceremony where people drink ayahuasca tea that can make you hallucinate for up to 12 hours or more depending on the dosage, or there's also when people smoke the pure form of the drug, which gives you a hyper-intense blast for about 5 minutes. People who experience this drug say there is an overall feeling of being transported to another world and they lose all connection with their physical body. Some say that you can use this drug to communicate with the 5th dimension. And if that is true, the SCP Foundation would be all over this interdimensional communication tool. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Wim Hof, probably one of the coolest people that you have never heard of. Wim Hof is someone that everyone should be researching because he might be the closest thing to a real-life superhero and he can teach his powers to you. Wim Hof is also known as the Iceman, and through a meditative breathing practice, he is able to withstand freezing temperatures for an indefinite amount of time. He climbed 24,000 feet up Everest in shorts and sandals. He set the world record for the longest underwater ice swim, where his retinas froze and he had to feel his way out of the exit. He did a long-distance polar ice run barefoot, where his only clothes were shorts. He had to stop halfway because his feet were destroyed with frostbite. The doctors that were accompanying him told him that he would lose both his feet. He laughed, went into a a tent, meditated for a few hours, and came out with his feet completely healed, and then continued his run. He has taught other people this breathing technique to master the control of your body. So not only is this guy unlocking human abilities that have never been seen before, he's also sharing them with people. You can literally become a superhero and no one's talking about it. If the SCP Foundation was real, they would be all over this guy.
Starting us off at number 10, the immortal jellyfish. Yes, you heard that correctly. And no, it's not quite what you would expect. It turns out that if you want to live forever, all you need to do is be reincarnated as this specific species of jellyfish. But before you get too excited, while they never technically die, they don't continue aging either. Essentially, after the jellyfish has reproduced, they revert back to a polyp stage and repeat that cycle over and over and over and over again for eternity. To put it simply, they pretty much turn back into babies again. Like, actually, how is that possible? As far as scientists can tell, the only way for them to die is to literally be eaten or catch a deadly disease. But as long as they steer clear of those threats, they will quite literally live forever. Coming in at number 9, the blue glaucus. Often described as a tiny little water dragon, the blue glaucus is actually a nudibranch. The bright blue side that is often shown in photos is actually their belly side. They tend to float on their backs as the blue side camouflages them within the water and protects them from sky predators like birds and such. But what is truly nuts about these tiny 1-inch creatures is their ability to sting, and sting hard. They essentially swallow and store the stinging cells from siphonophores, another creature we will get to later on, and then these stinging cells remain in the blue glaucus, concentrating over time. When the time comes and they feel threatened, it will release these stinging cells, delivering an incredibly potent sting that can cause its victim to experience a slew of painful and uncomfortable symptoms. So it's not that they are poisonous or venomous themselves necessarily. Technically, they can just store poison and then shoot it out when the time is right, which I say is probably even more terrifying. Next up at number 8, the mysterious whalefish. Back in 1895, 2 scientists discovered a fish in the deep sea that they named whalefish for its resemblance to the other animal. Then fast forward a few decades, and in 1956, a scientist discovered another new kind of fish in the deep sea, the tape tail. Finally, in 1966, scientists added one more new fish to the list, named the big nose. But something wasn't adding up. No matter how hard they looked, they could only ever find juvenile tape tails, female whalefish, and male big noses. Where were all the others? Well, finally in 2003, they discovered something incredible, that they were actually all in the same family. But because they literally all looked so incredibly different, it never occurred to them upon each initial discovery. Sometimes nicknamed the shapeshifting fish, these strange creatures change so much from larva to adulthood that they are entirely unrecognizable and frankly should not be possible. Coming in at number 7, the mantis shrimp. These tiny little creatures look like something from a science fiction novel, and they certainly act like one too. Mantis shrimp, though not shrimp or mantis, are divided into 2 categories: smashers and spearers. Smashers have a crazy strong club appendage that can literally bludgeon their prey to death or break aquarium glass if they're in the mood, whereas spearers have a barbed tip, spiny appendage they will use to stab their prey. But their big claim to fame is that they are actually thought to have the most complex eyes in all of the animal kingdom. To give you a bit of context, humans have 3 types of photoreceptor cells in our eyes, and the mantis shrimp can possess anywhere from 12 to 16, meaning that they can essentially see colors that are literally not able to be perceived by other species. I mean, how insane is that? Next up at number 6, the thorny devil. Native to the land of Australia, it should come as no shocker that these creatures are out of this world. I mean, that is kind of the Australian calling card after all. For starters, they are literally covered from head to toe in giant spikes. I mean, they practically look like a mace. But at the nape of their neck is also this huge bulge that acts as their false head. So if they get attacked, they will bow their head down to reveal their false head and keep their real one safe. That's not the insane part though. So if they continue to feel threatened and the predator continues to attack, a thorny devil's defense is to actually shoot blood from their eyes. I kid you not. I mean, talk about a party trick. But seriously, that should not be possible, right? I'll just be thankful that that is not something humans can pull off yet. Coming in at number 5, gooey ducks. These definitely have a certain look to them that I am sure we can all agree on, and I won't lie, that was definitely a factor in me adding them to the list. But aside from looking rather stallion-like, if you will, these clams also live to be crazy old. I'm talking 140 to 180 years old. You'd think if something had to live that long, they would at least get to see cool stuff, but that was not the plan for these kooky things. Instead, they remain in literally one spot their entire lives. Gooey ducks will ground themselves with a small foot and remain several feet below ground, eating plankton and pretty much minding their own business until they either die or are farmed. Next up at number 4, the platypus. Of course, I had to add this weirdo creature to the list. We know it, we love it, and we will be eternally confused by it. Scientists still have a really hard time figuring out how to categorize the platypus, although officially they have decided on mammal, which, I mean, we'll do, I guess. But truthfully, there is nothing else like it. It lays eggs like a chicken, but it still produces milk for its young. It has a bill, like a duck, that is loaded with sensors that can detect a worm's electrical field, but then it hits you with webbed feet and a beaver tail. Like, what are we supposed to do with that? Oh, and lest we forget, the venomous spurs on the rear ankles of the males. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of what a 4-year-old may have drawn their imaginary friend to look like, not an actual living, breathing animal on planet Earth. But hey, the Earth is full of things that don't make sense, so what's another thing on the list? Coming in at number 3, the axolotl. Put aside the fact that these amphibians are strangely adorable, they also defy any and all logical understanding of biology. For starters, they are the only amphibians that don't undergo metamorphosis, which is why they retain their baby-like features as well as their external gills in their adulthood. But most incredibly and mind-boggling is that they can actually regenerate nearly every limb or organ in their body in a matter of months. I'm talking arms, legs, tail, heart, eyes, even certain tissues in their nervous system. So quite literally, say its leg gets ripped from the body, rather than scarring, the axolotl will just grow a new one. And in some cases, it's even been known to repair a damaged limb and grow an additional one. They are quite a popular pet among exotic animal lovers. Coming in at number 2, siphonophores. These creatures blew my mind when I was making up this list for you guys. Think of them less like one entity and more like a community of organisms that all live together. Essentially, a bunch of different multicellular units, each with specialized functions, but each with their own nervous system, joined together to create a colony that can reproduce, digest, float, and move. They live in the deep sea, and so far there are 175 known species. And if the whole suburban cul-de-sac organism entity thing isn't cool enough for you, they are also bioluminescent, so they literally glow. Not only that, but they are one of only 2 known life forms in the entire world that are known to produce a red light, as most produce blue or green. And coming in at number 1, the floppy snake. Similarly to the gooey duck, the floppy snake has a very distinct appearance, having been dubbed by some on the internet as a manaconda. Although it's called a snake, it's not really a snake, but an amphibian with rings like an earthworm. But what is truly impossible to understand about this creature is that it has no lungs. The floppy snake will breathe through its skin. Capillaries fill their skin, which permits an exchange of gas, and voila! To top it off, it has terrible eyesight and sealed nostrils, yet it is still able to smell. Experts have literally said that there is no clear understanding on how the floppy snake survives, but yet here we are. It is here and it is alive, so who am I to question it?
In our number 10 spot, we have Ramen Manuel. Chicago Mayor Ramen Manuel may be a shapeshifter reptile. I'll let you decide. In September 2012, during a press conference, viewers noticed that his eyes seemed to transform into, well, I'm not quite sure I know how to describe this because it's terrifying. Around his eyes, we see darkness of some sort, and suddenly his actual eyes become enlarged. Honestly, whatever happened wasn't human. Did he reveal himself as a shapeshifter reptile? I'm thinking yes. If you're enjoying this video so far, smash that like button as it'll really help us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Timothy Geithner. Former secretary to the treasurer, Timothy Geithner, has been accused of being a shapeshifter. Why? Well, because there's some weird footage of him possibly doing just that. Footage was taken of him at a press conference sitting and listening to the speaker when all of a sudden something starts happening to his right eye. A weird pattern that honestly looks like a pattern that you would see on a butterfly wing starts to form around his eye, sort of cupping it. It seems that it happens for a few seconds before he realizes it and tries to cover it up by touching the area, and in an instant, it's gone. No one can deny that the footage is rather odd, especially as he touches the area and poof, it's magically gone. It is super possible that we have a butterfly shapeshifter on our hands. Imagine. If I could be a shapeshifter, that's what I would want to be. Something with wings. Probably a fairy. That would be great. In our number 8 spot, we have US General David Petraeus. On June 15, 2010, the US General David Petraeus appeared to faint during a conference, but at one point though, his face appeared to be, well, not human. The footage of this one does appear to be a tad blurry, but it does seem like something has happened to his face. His face looks like it's, deformed, and the person that was looking at him and talking before he fainted did look a tad scared, but it could have been because he could see something was wrong. So there's that. But also, at one point, somebody stood up and conveniently blocked the camera from seeing him, so that's sus. But honestly, the footage for this one is too blurry for me to say, yeah, probs are reptiles. But the people that filmed it and shared it definitely said that they saw something that day and it did not look human. In our number 7 spot, we have Lady Gaga. Okay, Lady Gaga is an interesting one because there is a video that seemingly shows something going on with her eyes, but also she literally said on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that she, quote, has always liked to shapeshift. Very sus, Gaga. The viewers of the show thought that it was a very interesting choice of words, and so many thought that there was a bit of truth to what she said, as if the energy around the word held more weight. I don't know. Certainly there are so many people that believe that Lady Gaga has had contact with the devil, and so it would make sense if she was a shapeshifter. Remember that time she suspended something in the air with her magical force field? Okay, but for real, is she a magical devil-like being or a shapeshifter? Would love to know your vote in the comment section below. In our number 6 spot, we have Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, actress turned literal princess when she married Prince Harry, has had quite some speculation around her over being a robot. Now, I've heard many things, including reptilian, and some people believe something has just, replaced her. But the robot shapeshifter is an interesting theory. It started when a clip went viral over Harry and Meghan wearing masks to promote Madame Tussauds new Harry and Meghan edition. But what made everyone feel the creeps is not just the fact that their facial expressions are unsettling, but also because Meghan is not blinking. Terrifying. Whereas Harry apparently was. Anyways, I think that this got everyone to start theorizing that even though this is a mask, she may actually be a shapeshifter robot, and you know what? I don't blame them. We're probs living in iRobot and don't even know it. In our number 5 spot, we have President Bush. Now, this is a clip of Papa Bush, the 41st president of the US, speaking in an interview, and his eyes seem to change. For those of you who don't live in North America, there is a George Bush Sr. and Jr., and they both became president of the US. Anyways, this clip is of George Sr., aka Papa Bush, and most people are in agreement that he is absolutely a reptilian. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to be convinced that all the politicians are, but who knows? Maybe the whole world is. Maybe I am. Honestly, I wish I could shapeshift. Then I would just shapeshift myself into a passenger that has a ticket to board a flight to Paris and peace out of here. You know what I mean? Anyways, in this clip, his eyes definitely form into slits, and there's no doubt that if this clip is real, and so many say that it is, then, you know, he's definitely not human. In our number 4 spot, we have Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos, who is known as an American serial killer, did a number of interviews before she was executed on October 9th, 2002. During a number of her interviews, people claimed to have seen some weird shape-shifting happening. This is a clip of an interview that she did where her eyes appeared to show that infamous reptile slit. You know, there is so many people that believe that sometimes shapeshifters are responsible for some of the worst crimes in the world, and then they just, you know, shapeshift out of prison afterwards after taking over the body of humans. That's definitely an interesting theory. I mean, regardless, clearly Aileen was evil, so even if she's not a shapeshifter, I'm sure someone could make a case for her being possessed by a demon. In our number 3 spot, we have Reptile Woman. This woman has been dubbed Reptile Woman for pretty obvious reasons. The footage that was taken of this mystery woman surfaced online and was apparently not altered in any way. The footage seems quite normal until it's broken down frame by frame, and suddenly it's as if you see a different person. Her hands look different, her back, her face, and her eyes. It's fascinating. I personally wish the footage was easier to see, as it's not fully convincing me looking at something so blurry. It just makes me feel like it's been altered, but who knows? I may be wrong, and it sure seems like a lot of people believe that it's real. There have been a few people that have tried to debunk it, and truly I think I'm with them on their analysis. This one is too blurry for me to think that it's possibly real, but whatever. It might be. In our number 2 spot, we have M.W. Jeffrey Black Hodgson. Let's call him Jeff, you know, for short. So Jeff is the Grand Master of the Masons in Massachusetts. Yeah, if you don't know anything about the Masons, then definitely have a Google sesh later tonight. That's a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But yeah, if you know anything about the Masons, then you probably won't be surprised that they are on this list. The Grand Master, the big guy calling the shots, is in this video, and he certainly shows signs of being a shapeshifter. From his eyes suddenly showing slits to his skin apparently showing evidence, there are a lot of people that believe that this guy is a shapeshifter. And in our number 1 spot, we have Britney Spears. Okay, this one I refuse to believe is real, because I love her. God, I do not want to believe it, but the footage certainly makes you think that it's possible that she's a shapeshifter, or that a shapeshifter at some point had taken over her body. That to me would check out more when you think of everything that she has been fighting for recently in terms of her freedom and gaining full control of her body back again. Who knows? Perhaps there is way more to it than we can imagine. I just love her though, so I refuse to believe that she was born a reptile. Anyways, in this shot, her eyes seemingly show slits at times, just like a lot of the other footage that we've shown, and this would point to some kind of reptile living within her.
At number 10, we have the Body Snatchers, an alien plant that invades Earth from space and only has one goal: to take over the planet, consume all the life, and then leave the planet dead as a doornail as the creature moves on to its next victim. The first time this monstrosity showed its face was in the book Body Snatchers in 1955. Since then, it has been transported to the silver screen again and again and again, with the most recent adaptation being in 2007 with the Nicole Kidman movie Invasion. The Body Snatchers are a plant from outer space. They release spores that infect people and put them into a deep sleep state. While they sleep, a duplicate is created that is in complete control of the Body Snatchers. The original is then disposed of, never to be seen again. The duplicate looks identical to the original in every way, right down to the scars. But the Body Snatchers have no connection to human emotion, which makes them a much deadlier enemy. They operate as a hive mind to take over an entire planet. It's safe to say by the time you find out the infection is real, it is too late. At number 9, we have the Terminator. Arnold baby, I'll be back. You are terminated. Hasta la vista baby. These are all amazing lines that were born from the amazing movie series starring one of the greatest villains of all time, a nearly unstoppable machine from the future to change the course of history, known as the Terminator. Now, is the Terminator a monster? Of course he is. He's scary, he's dangerous, and he murders without any feeling. That's a monster. This killing machine for sure fits into this list. For those of you who don't know the Terminator, he
He is a robot sent from the future with one mission: to kill people from the past so he can ensure the success of Skynet, which is the company who will make the artificial intelligence that develops the mind of the Terminator. There are several series of this bad boy. You got the classic T-800, who is the Terminator we all know and love. There is the T-1000, who is made up of a living metal like mercury, who added out to kill you and can take the form of any person it encounters, duplicating their features and their voice. In the most recent Terminator movie, there's an alternate future which creates the Rev 9, the most advanced Terminator that the series has ever seen. It's half skeletal Terminator and the other half is like liquid Terminator, able to split both halves into two separate weapons. It can hack the internet, duplicating anyone. Basically, if this thing comes to kill you, you're done for. At number 8 we have The Thing. Another movie classic. This is one of John Carpenter's best movies, and every time I watch it, it literally creeps me out. There's something about real props that creeps the hell out of me. The Thing is an extremely resourceful creature. Through physical contact, it can spread from one person to another on a cellular level. The cells start to digest the host cells, creating new The Thing cells that will take over the body completely, making an exact duplicate of the host. The Thing is only able to copy organic material, so animals and people are its main targets. It also has the ability to shapeshift, grow claws, fangs, tentacles, and a whole bunch of weird stuff. It can consume enough organic material to grow into a massive monstrosity. Its weaknesses are fire, as it will burn every last cell, but you will have to make sure that you kill every last single one. If there's even just a little bit left, it can attach to a host and regrow. Also, it can survive extreme cold temperatures for an unknown amount of time, possibly forever. At number 7 we have the Skrull, one of the greatest villains of the Marvel Universe. The Skrull are an alien race that have the ability to shapeshift into other humanoids. They are masters of invasion and will take over entire planets with Skrulls, mimicking high-ranking officials by stealing their memories and moving into their lives completely. Some people will be married to a Skrull, even have children with them, and never know. Skrulls can also mimic superheroes' powers. They will usually kidnap the people they replicate so they don't have the other version running around trying to blow their cover. One of the greatest Skrulls ever, Super Skrull, has taken more than one power at a time, the entire Fantastic Four, into one body. At number 6 we have Dracula. I mean, I don't really need to go into a deep breakdown onto who this guy is. He is the king of the vampires. He is the OG. He's been blending in with people and killing them since before it was cool. His powers have changed over again and again throughout time, but here are some of the more popular ones. He has super strength, super speed, and agility, the ability to seduce and hypnotize people through eye contact. He can turn into a horde of bats and fly into the darkness. And of course, his weaknesses are sunlight, a wooden stake, and sometimes crosses. And he has a constant need to drink human blood. The legend of Dracula originally comes from the Romanian ruler Vlad the Impaler. He was known for his brutality. He would leave the bodies of impaled men outside his castle to scare off invading armies, and it said that he would dip his bread in the blood of his victims. At number 5 we have Replicants, a questionable villain from the movie Blade Runner. Replicants are human-like slaves that are grown in a lab for service purposes. They are all given expiry dates and they're supposed to serve one purpose and that's it, which is usually some hard labor. Some of them go rogue and then are taken down by Blade Runners, who are basically cops who hunt down replicants. The only way you can tell the difference between a real person and a replicant is through the Vogt-Kampff test. This one is questionable because replicants only rebel because they want to live, but they also kill a bunch of people in the process, so it's kind of a gray area. At number 4 we have Martian Manhunter, one of the greatest to come out of the DC universe. Martian Manhunter is one of the most powerful heroes to work with the Justice League in the never-ending battle against evil. Now anyone who knows the character knows that he's a hero and probably shouldn't be on a list of scary monsters, but let me just break him down for a minute and give you my reasons why. Let's get into his powers first. He has super strength, flight, shapeshifting, telekinesis, mind reading, intangibility, durability, regeneration, extrasensory input, and in some instances heat vision. He is by far one of the most powerful creatures in the DC universe, with Superman once saying, "I can count on one hand the number of known beings in the universe that I would be afraid to face in combat." And John Johns, the Martian Manhunter, is at the top of the list. Superman said he's afraid of this dude. That means he's someone to be feared. If he was ever to go rogue, it could be the end of the world as we know it. At number 3 we have She-Mantis. In the television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we see all sorts of strange supernatural creatures that always have new ways of trying to kill the protagonist and her friends. Now in the episode Teacher's Pet, we saw the writers take the teacher seducing the student fantasy and turn it on its head. One of the main characters, Xander, has a new teacher and she is a bombshell, Miss Natalia French, and she starts to pull him in with with her sultry ways. I have to admit, if I was in this position, I would fall for the same thing. Throughout the episode, we see her seduce him more and more. Xander is totally into it, while Buffy and the rest of the gang is a little suspicious. Eventually, Miss French invites Xander over so they can work on a school project. He arrives there, and just as things are about to get hot and heavy, she drugs him and then drags him into the basement, ties him up, and it's revealed that she's actually a giant praying mantis that has the ability to shapeshift into a human. Now she has Xander as her prisoner, and she's going to use him as food and a tool to reproduce. Luckily, Buffy and the rest of the crew come to save the day. Xander is saved, but probably will never trust a woman again. At number 2, we have reptilian shapeshifters. This is the conspiracy theory that popped off before all conspiracy theories were mainstream. They were the brainchild of author and former sports broadcaster David Icke. Now they sound like something that would be pulled out of a science fiction novel, but Icke insists that they are real. He claims that reptilian shapeshifters called Anunnaki have been in control of mankind for centuries and are embedded in every high level of power on the planet. He makes claims that the entire royal family is reptilian pretending to be a person, and they want nothing more than to eat our bodies and watch us suffer. He says that they've orchestrated all major disasters in the world, and he has claimed that he's seen glimpses of them transform in person. The Anunnaki are the backbone of every shadow government, like the Illuminati and all the other ones. And they continue to control the world and manipulate humanity unless someone does something about it. I'm gonna pass on unveiling this one and just sit on my couch eating ice cream. That's what I'm gonna do. And for the number 1 spot, we have Zeus. Wait, what? Why would you put the Greek god of the skies on a list of monsters pretending to be humans? Well, for one, Zeus is transformed into a person before, mostly to try and seduce women, and he's actually a monster. Just because he lives up in the clouds doesn't mean he's a nice guy, like he's a monster inside his soul. Let's break down some of the horrible things that Zeus has done. He has always been a fan of incest, which isn't super weird among the gods, but still not very cool. He once killed his wife so he could marry another lady who was the goddess Hera, and then once he was married to Hera, he cheated on her all the time. He once turned into a swan and then raped a lady, and on top of all that, he sentenced the Titan Prometheus to have his liver eaten out by an eagle every day for eternity. Prometheus is immortal, so it'd regenerate and then it would come eat his liver out again. This is all because Prometheus gave fire to people, because he was a good dude. Literally, an eagle flies down every day to eat the guy's liver, and the next day it regenerates and it starts again. And on top of that, he's the one who gave Pandora's box to Pandora so she opened it and unleashed all the evil in the world. But Zeus is the one who gave Pandora an unrelenting need of curiosity, so he knew she would open the box and unleash evil in the world. So, pretty bad dude.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Queen of England. Okay, your girl is British, and being so, us Brits just have a soft spot for the Queen, but apparently the rest of the world doesn't, and everybody seemingly thinks she's a shapeshifter reptilian hybrid. So that was news to me. Not only just the Queen, but a lot of people speculate over the entire royal family being reptilian hybrids. The reason being due to some footage that surfaced online that showcased the Queen being dressed in one of her cute outfits. But then all of a sudden, they zoom in on her eye, and you see her eye looking completely creepy. Honestly, the footage is terrifying, and I've watched enough horror movies in my life to recognize a demon when I see one, and her eye looked just a tad bit demon-like. Apparently people have said that her eye was just bloodshot. But yeah, I don't know about that excuse. They really should have said that she had some kind of eye disease, because that I would believe. I've had a bloodshot, probably at least plus 10 times in my life, and I've seen bloodshot eyes several times, and never have I ever seen anything that looks like that. Her entire eye is bloody looking. Honestly, it's as if perhaps someone punched her in the eye, except there's no swelling. It's very strange. So anyways, I see why people think she's possibly a shapeshifter. In our number 9 spot, we have Katy Perry. Okay, this is some crazy footage, y'all. I have obviously heard of the theory that celebs are really just reptiles, but like, damn, Katy Perry? I love her. I don't want to believe it. You can't make me. Okay, but for real, even if she is a shapeshifter reptilian, is it possible that she's not a bad one? I say yes. Anyways, in this clip we see Katy Perry's eye shift from blue to green, and her pupils become slits for a second before she seemingly notices and looks away from the camera. Very sus, Katy. In our number 8 spot, we have Dove Cameron. Dove Cameron is an actress and extremely talented singer, most notably known for her Disney Channel show Liv and Maddie and The Descendants. Her voice is angelic, and personally, I'm a big fan. But regardless of my feelings, people speculate that she is a shapeshifter, or that a shapeshifter has taken over her body. One or the other. There is some recent footage of her doing an interview on the red carpet, and in this interview she has a moment where it seems as if she shifts a little. When you zoom into her eyes, it appears as if for a second her eyes reveal her pupils suddenly turning into a slit. Just for a second before turning back. It's really quite fast, but if you slow down the footage and zoom in closely, you can see it clear as day. So perhaps she has something weird going on with her eye, or perhaps she's actually a shapeshifter. Probably the latter. In our number 7 spot, we have Beyonce. Many are very suspicious of Beyonce apparently, and I had no idea. Apparently she is one of the most suspicious of the Hollywood celebs that people are pretty certain is a shapeshifter reptile, and it's because of a few different shots of her that reveal some pretty wild things. Apparently in one shot you see Beyonce singing, and suddenly the side of her face almost looks scaly. In another shot, Beyonce is dancing on stage and whipping her hair around, and for a millisecond you can literally see her face transform into a demon. I'm not joking, it's terrifying, and it's probably real. It's hard to believe her heavenly voice is even human, so most likely she's from out of this world. What do you think? Leave a comment in the comment section below. In our number 6 spot, we have Antique Roadshow Reptile. In this video, captured on camera, it is a regular episode of the BBC show The Antiques Roadshow, when, in the background, the camera captured a man staring at the camera. His eyes appear pretty large, being opened quite wide, and if you zoom in, it looks as if his pupils have slits. His eyes resemble a snake's eyes, revealing that he is obviously a shapeshifter snake. He doesn't appear to be with anyone, just hanging in the background, smirking at what he's observing. It's crazy to see this on camera, but I wonder if anyone has actually seen this in person. My suspicious brain would probs not even believe anyone, even if they did claim that they saw this in real life. I'd be like, show me that proof, or nothing. I'll just be sad. In our number 5 spot, we have the NBC shapeshifter. In 1995, there was reportedly an NBC News reporter by the name of Isaiah Carey who was in the middle of filming when he allegedly swallowed a grasshopper. What's eerie about this video is that if you zoom in, you can observe him having an abnormally large, somewhat pointy tongue, and the color is slightly green. The reporter had a very big reaction, which, I mean, if I swallowed a grasshopper, I would have screamed. Drama queen. But most people think that he turned away from the camera to hide his tongue, which does seem possible, but then again, no one wants to have something that gross documented on camera, so I would probably turn away too. Reptile or human? Probably reptile. In our number 4 spot, we have the Mexican schoolboy. In a video that was shared in September of 2018, there appears to be a boy and a girl, and a lot of chaos around them. Students leaving their seats and a lot of hustle and bustle when all of a sudden, the girl seems to turn into the boy, and the boy falls down and faints. She runs down the stairs, now as him, and then after 30 seconds on the ground, the boy, who's being approached by adults, he suddenly wakes up and begins to run at top speed away from the scene. Honestly, this one to me feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi show. I mean, at one part it does look like it's filmed on a phone, but for the most part it kind of gives me old Degrassi The Next Generation vibes, but maybe that's just me. Anyone else with me? But people say that it is real, and so all I have to say is that, damn. Yep, that's all I've got. In our number 3 spot, we have the shape-shifting goat. In 2009, Nigerian police actually arrested a goat as apparently someone had shape-shifted into it. It was caught by vigilantes who were chasing 2 men who were trying to steal a Mazda car. They claimed that one of the 2 men escaped while the other used black magic to transform into a goat. Okay, this one wasn't caught on camera, but I thought you had to be told about this because I'm tripping out. Reportedly, the police said one of them escaped and the other turned into a goat. We cannot confirm the theory, but the goat is in our custody. This is the best one I've ever done. We cannot base our information on something mystical. It is something that has to be proved scientifically that a human being turned into a goat. Okay, so anyone else kinda hoping this story isn't true only because then the story is that a bunch of police arrested a goat? Honestly, I'm good with either story being true. In our number 2 spot, we have the alien security guard. In 2012, at the US-Israel Policy Conference, while President Obama was making a speech, there were cameras that were circulating around the area and they were shooting footage of the audience. From the front view, we see 2 security guards standing in the aisle. They look like, you know, they're most likely CIA agents. But then a camera shoots the security guards from behind. And one of them in particular does not look human from behind, as well as the camera catches him looking completely different than he does from the front. We see a bald man with no ears and a pointy chin. His nose looks short and rounded, and his eyes appear to be dark and quite sunken in. Most people think that because it was so dark and crowded that people would have missed this, and that the camera caught this shapeshifter in a blip of a moment in its true form. Many have concluded from this footage that the US is in cahoots with an alien race. And at this point, I'm pretty convinced too. What do you think? In our number 1 spot, we have the alleyway shifter. Okay, this clip is crazy. This is footage of a person that goes into an alleyway that is semi-lit and stands still. And then what appears to be a dark shadow leaves its body and walks away, and the person remains frozen. This clip is so controversial and has been a point of debate for some time now, but I'm not sure what you can even debate. You can clearly see someone or something leave the body and the body stays frozen in place. This clip is one of the most seemingly real clips out of everything I saw, but apparently all of the footage is real. Interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Number 10. Ghost pet. Okay, I'll kick this journey off with some pets from the afterlife. We love that. That's always nice to know, I guess. I grew up with 2 dogs, 2 cats, a bird, a guinea pig at some point, you know. We love animals growing up. I never thought of the idea of ghost animals. I never actually thought about it, right? I've seen tons of footage where the ghost is human shaped or whatever. I've never thought about an actual animal ghost. Is that calming? Is that terrifying for you? Is it possible? First of all, check this out. Okay, so maybe you're thinking it's probably air. Maybe they're sitting on an air vent of some sorts, the blanket's moving, whatever. I thought that too, but then I kept watching. I don't know, this doesn't seem like an airflow if you ask me. I've seen some vents in my lifetime. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm torn on this one personally. A ghost cat? What a nightmare.
So this video, taken by bikers on an island in Indonesia called Sumatra, starts off pretty normal until what looks to be a very small naked man holding a spear suddenly appears in the middle of the dirt road. And when I say it just appears, I mean like comes out of nowhere. I tried going through frame by frame and just couldn't see where the little dude came from. Abruptly runs off and the bikers ride after him before he slips into the bushes. Now this part's crazy, because for a couple different reasons. First off, the bushes barely even seem to rustle when he runs into them, and when the bikers dismount from their bikes to investigate, you can see that their heads are at least the same height of the grass, or even taller, and the little man or creature, well, he looked to be about like half the size of the grass. Some say this is a member of a mythical tribe known as the Mante, while others say it could just be a hoax. I don't know though, this one looks real, like there was definitely some little guy running around there.
Number 8, ghost kid. Okay, moving from ghost animals to ghost humans. Here we go, a little bit more familiar. This next clip of unexplained footage comes from a TikTok user named Yushiani66. Now this is a school of some sorts, I'm guessing, and there's a music class, some sort of musical presentation that's lovely at first, but it looks as if a ghost child just appears out of nowhere on the right side and then just disappears again, just like that. Check it out. Yeah, it's almost like the person switches dimensions for a bit. They just change their mind, I guess. I don't know. They watch Loki, it seems. I'm a big fan of ghost footage. I love that. I've seen some odd blurs in my own personal home videos. I've seen a few odd things myself. We'll talk about it later. I'm on the fence. I don't know. I feel like I believe in ghosts.
Up next, we have a woman with a sharp kitchen utensil on a doorbell cam. So this next video really made me want to run out and put a security camera by my front door, and after this you'll probably want to do the same. A man woke up in the middle of the night to his doorbell being rung, and now first off, I feel like anytime someone knocks on your door or rings your doorbell in the middle of the night, it's probably not for a good reason, right? Either you're getting some bad news or something seriously unsettling is going on, and that's what happens here. We see an elderly woman standing in front of the man's door, rocking back and forth, which is like unsettling enough in the middle of the night. Even during the day, if you didn't know her, it'd be like, what? But she's also brandishing a sharp kitchen utensil in her hand, patiently waiting for him to come down and open the door. Well, I say patiently, but she seems to be ringing the doorbell like over and over again and can't seem to stand still. What makes this video so unsettling is wondering what would have happened if he didn't have a security camera and opened the door. Unless she was just being a friendly neighbor and wanted to give him a brand new kitchen utensil, I don't see how this would have ended well. Hopefully the woman is okay. She, something's going on there.
Number 6, ghost janitor. James and I are coming for everything on this list. We got poltergeists, haunted school plays, ghost cats playing under blankets, you name it. I'm trying to get a little bit of everything involved. This next one here reminds me of my old high school. Pretty sure that's Sinclair Secondary. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was haunted. This clip was posted on YouTube by user Tubber Rubber. Awesome name, might I add. It's them filming security footage, and in it we see a janitor cleaning station just rolling on its own. Now, one of two things is happening here. One, there is indeed a ghost pushing this cart down a hallway, which, if that's the case, unreal. You're committed to the bit even after death. You deserve a raise. Awesome. Or two, the water is splashing around, causing the cart to move on its own. I don't know, one of the two. I'm kind of torn. The other night I was boiling water, and then out of nowhere this thing started just sliding off the burner zone by itself. It was scary, but sometimes momentum plus water equals, is that a ghost? What do you think? Comment down below.
Up next is a strange creature on the road. This mysterious video features someone driving down a quiet road at night. I feel like that's how a lot of creepy stories start. You don't often hear someone start a story with, I was driving down a desolate road alone at night, without following it up with something at least a little unsettling. This video shows some kind of figure standing on the side of the road. It's hard to make it out because, like with most unexplained videos, the quality isn't fantastic. Usually shot on like a potato. And we pass by the figure pretty fast too as the guy is driving. Some people say it looks like some kind of bird creature. I don't really see that. It looks more like a zombie to me because its neck looks like it's broken, like it's resting at a strange angle. If that even is its neck, again, it's hard to exactly tell what this thing is. Even if it isn't a mutated bird creature or a zombie, which let's face it, it most likely is, why would someone be standing on the side of the road alone at night with their neck all twisted up? I really wanted the person shooting to like slow down or back up their car to see what it was, but I get why they didn't. I'd be burning rubber to get as far away from that thing as possible too.
Number 4, Crayola Ghost. All right, here comes some imagination for you, some creativity. Here we go. This next one is honestly like a foreign one, because I got you, okay? This couple online decided it was wise to upload each and every bit of paranormal activity that goes on under their roof. Nice, someone watched paranormal activity movies, they're taking some notes. Some clips show a door moving on its own, but another clip that has gained quite a bit of momentum online has me torn and honestly pretty afraid. Apparently ghosts have favorite colors. Who knew? I always had a hunch, but now we have proof. These videos I like because it has other examples of non-paranormal activity in it as well. Only one marker is moving in this clip, not all of them, so perhaps there is some sort of force, some ghost force involved. Also, if you go out of your way to film something, especially something this small in comparison to, all these other videos, you have my vote. I don't know, no one's gonna fake a little Crayola. That's not gonna get you any clout.
Up next we have a poltergeist. Poltergeist, the most violent of ghosts. It's like you take a creepy apparition that, while freaky, doesn't really do much but appear in semi-translucent form in family pictures or makes rooms cold, ooh. But what if that thing could throw stuff around your house, possibly hurting you, or worse, making a mess that you have to spend your free time cleaning up? Well, this next video, uploaded by Rocky Mills, features a man who believes there's a squatter in a home that he's renovating. He's obviously heard something before he started shooting, so he begins calling out to whoever this supposed squatter is while checking every room in the house. Things seem normal until suddenly a door to the basement abruptly slams on its own. The camera guy immediately opens the door, and there's nobody there. just a set of empty stairs leading to the basement. I don't know how someone could have done that unless they just pulled that door shut, jumped down the entire flight of stairs and did a power roll out of sight. I don't know if power roll is a real term, but just rolled quickly out of the camera view. Suddenly the man hears something, drops his phone, which is still filming, and runs off. At which point we see the phone start to spin, seemingly on its own. Something about the guy's reaction in this video just seems really genuine. I don't know, maybe it isn't a ghost, but I don't think it was a hoax either. Seems like something was going on in that house.
Number 2, haunted restaurant. Buddy, we got markers, buckets, now restaurants. Is everything haunted? Oh my lord. My last one for today is a haunted California restaurant. Nice. Make sure you tip, I guess, or else you're leaving with a demon, it seems. Cronies Bar in Ventura, California. The establishment actually released 2 videos themselves of what appears to be furniture falling and or moving on its own. The second clip shows a bar stool fall over on its own, but this time while nobody else was in sight. I've worked in a few bars in my life. I've improperly thrown up a bar stool before and then it catches me, right? It falls, it's loud, it bounces 11 times. It scares you, but this time the stool was still on the ground, so ergo haunted. If you have any leading theories yourself, comment down below. I'm gonna be coming back looking for answers. I'd love to sleep tonight, so thanks.
And number 1, we got the Jharkhand alien. Next, we're looking at another video taken of a strange creature filmed by a group of bikers. Seems like if you ride around on a motorbike enough, you're bound to spot a weird naked humanoid at some point. This video is taken in Jharkhand, India, and though the footage is grainy, once again, it appears as if there is a pale, incredibly thin, alien-looking creature walking along the side of the road. And though the figure is hard to make out, I do agree that it looks decidedly alien. Appears to have no hair, walks in an unnatural manner, and at first, I thought I spotted big glowing eyes on its head, but then it turns around, revealing that whatever the glowing eye-looking things were actually on the back of its head. So, I don't know, but this one's strange. Maybe it's not an alien, or maybe it's just a really pale, naked person taking a stroll along the middle of the road at night, which again, is kinda unsettling on its own.
Number 10. Mothman. So the Mothman is this big old flying dude with wings and red eyes. Floats around and you know what? Boo! Mothman sucks. Look, okay, I grew up in the area where this cryptid is supposedly haunted, and you know what? Yeah, I did see him. Big old spooky red eyes flying around doing whatever. Oh no, he was near a bridge when it collapsed. He precipitated disaster. The only thing that actually happened to me when I saw him was just my house flooded, I failed on my final test, and my girlfriend broke up with me. I mean, who even cares, right? God, Mothman is such a loser. Oh, I'm a big scary moth. Look at me. Oh, I'm mothing it up. No, I'm not bitter. Shut up. Number 9. Demon Cat. Good old Demon Cat. Making its home in Washington, D.C., this fiendish feline is known to stalk the White House and the United States Capitol building. Supposedly in the 1800s, cats were brought to the Capitol building as a means of combating the rat problem. And while they couldn't get all the politicians, some legends claim that one cat remained, stalking the basements. It can only be seen prior to elections and other tragedies in Washington, supposedly having been seen before the assassinations of JFK and Lincoln. Why has this kitty stuck itself in the minds of those who have seen it? Well, apparently when spotted, this cat actually grows to massive proportions, leaping at its viewer before just vanishing. Now, some blame the Capitol Police Force's poor screening for alcoholics at the source of this misunderstanding, as when viewed from the floor, anything might appear large. But as one guard was apparently taken by a heart attack upon seeing the categorical size of such the beast, who can really say for sure? Number 8. Sewer alligators. Taking a big old bite out of the big old apple are our guys in green, the sewer gators. According to the New York Times, there's actually a massive problem with folks trying to keep alligators as pets within the city. But as for the ones that aren't caught, what might happen to their pets once they've outgrown their owners? Now, legend has it that in the 1930s, an infestation began, gators making their home within New York's stinky subsystems. Supposedly, they've clashed with the NYPD, who claimed to have vanished their bescaled opponents, though sightings have continued throughout the modern days. Likely their greatest impact was the inspiration for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, though I might just be making that up. Number 7. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. Better known as Le Bête Noire, this humanoid horror is reported to be located within the Honey Island Swamp in Louisiana. Described as walking on 2 legs and 7 feet tall, Le Bête Noire is reported to be be preceded by a foul odor. Now, casts have been taken of its feet, showing a total of 4 toes, which indicates that it may not be related to humans or apes, as some legends claim that a crashed circus train may have allowed for a band of chimpanzees to escape into the wild, where they probably adapted to their environment and fell into legend. Knowing how circuses generally treat their animals, good for them. Number 6. Lava bear. Discovered in the area surrounding South Central Oregon, the lava bears are a group of extremely small bears that have been observed emerging from the lava beds common to the area. Several hunters have claimed to have caught these ferocious beasts, which initially appeared to be bear cubs but were in fact fully grown adults. Once news of this made rounds, the hunt for the bears was on, and in 1923, one was caught by a US Forest Service trapper by the name of Alfred Andrews. Andrews was offered a reward for the bear's body, but turned it down in favor of parading it around the country, making quite a chunk of change on the side, until his partner stole the bear and vanished. Several other bears have been captured, and in 1924, one of the local high schools decided that its mascot would become the lava bear. It is also still their mascot. Seriously. Number 5. The black dog. Yeah, I put this in here to contrast the demon cat because I, think they should be friends. The black dog is a demonic creature originating in Europe, most famously in the story The Hound of the Baskervilles, but it's also been cited in the States. A beast with burning red eyes, W.H.C. Pynchon wrote, "If you meet the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow, and the third time shall bring death." Demonic dogs have been spotted in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and truckers have a saying where if you see one, it's time to pull over or a crash will be the least of your concerns. Number 4. Ludwig the Bloodsucker. Back to New York, and it turns out that gators aren't the only things looking to take a bite out of streetwalkers. Described as a 3-foot-tall German man, Ludwig the Bloodsucker is reported to be a local vampire. Now, legends claim that he was too minute to take down a German man and too ugly to seduce a German woman, so he just booked it over to the States for easier pickings. Haunting the Bowery Street, several victims were left alive but incessantly mocked by the vampire, usually for their drunken stupor. Local newspapers reported about the man's habits, locating him as a German tailor by day. There are apparently even interviews where he goes on record to claim that blood is healthy and good eating. Mixed with the way that immigrants were treated at the time, I doubt that went over well. Number 3. Two-Toed Tom. Listen, there's a lot of gators in the States, but Two-Toed Tom might be the most famous. The story goes that this 14-foot alligator could be identified for having lost all but 2 toes to a trap, and would eat farmers and their livestock. Now, fed up with the beast, many brave men would band together to hunt the reptile, but whether it was ex-military marksmen or dynamite-brandishing pharmacists, none could destroy this devil. Bored with Alabama, the gator was reported to have left its hunting grounds, apparently settling for Florida, where there would be more failed attempts to take down Two-Toes. 50 years later, a series of two-toed tracks were discovered near his old hunting ground, and the legend of Two-Toed Tom marches on. Number 2. Hodag. Now, this strange creature made its home in Wisconsin, described as possessing the head of a frog, the face of an elephant, short legs with massive claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long spiked tail. Reported by land surveyor and trusted member of the community Eugene Shepard, he rounded up a group of brave hunters to capture the beast, an attempt which apparently required the usage of dynamite. Sending a picture of its remains to the media, they declared the safety of its primary food source for all time to come, the white bulldog. Thank goodness that the white bulldog may now roam Wisconsin once more. Alright, fine, it was a big hoax, and it was a really good one. Good enough that the local town decided to build a statue in honor of the beast. They also hold a festival in its name, which I've actually been to. But the effort that went into this hoax was actually quite extensive, and when Shepard had claimed to capture the creature, he even displayed it using a puppet show, piloting a wooden facsimile of the beast. Number 1. The Jersey Devil. Here's a real classic, the Jersey Devil, known for living in Jersey. Well, okay, taste and location aside, this creature is a sight to behold. A horse-like demon with bat wings and a forked tail. It was apparently born human, the 13th offspring of Mother Jane Leeds, who had cursed the unborn upon discovery of her pregnancy. Once born, the demon was revealed in all its horror, and gave everyone in the room a highly motivated beatdown before yeeting itself up and out the chimney. There have been sightings of this creature throughout history, one of the most notable viewers being Napoleon's brother. Seriously. This creature has also been reported to be capable of surviving direct cannon fire, and in 1909 there were a slew of sightings which set off a search for the fabled devil. A search which mostly ended in vain, even though there was a $10,000 reward that was promised for live capture. And of course, someone then tried to submit a kangaroo with fake claws and bat wings. Anyways, it's just another reason not to go to Jersey, and it's just about as good of one as any.
Starting us off at number 10, Julia. In 2008, Dr. Richard Gallagher, a psychiatrist and professor at the New York Medical College, revealed a haunting case of demonic possession. Now, it is a little unusual for a medical professional to be the backer, as usually they are prone to associate the symptoms with mental health disorders, but Julia was a special case. Dr. Gallagher said she would change her voice drastically out of nowhere, from a high-pitched squeal to a deep, manly guttural sound. She was known to speak in tongues and reveal personal knowledge about others in the room that had never been divulged to her. Often she would levitate off the ground and was even able to throw objects across the room with her mind. At a loss for what to do, Dr. Gallagher even attempted calling in a priest to perform an exorcism, but this made matters even worse, as it clearly bothered the entity possessing Julia, with the demon saying they will be sorry for their actions to try and get rid of it. Apparently, Julia continues to display signs of possession to this day and terrifies all that try to fix her condition. Next up at number 9, Clara Germana Seeley. In 1906, a South African girl began terrifying her family after one fateful night when she was allegedly possessed by a demonic entity. Now, no one knows just what happened that night, but the next day she began to exhibit superhuman strength and throwing nuns around the room with a simple flick of her wrist, while making inhuman noises. Clara would speak in languages she was not known to have any knowledge of, and after a 2-day exorcism where she floated several feet in the air and attempted to strangle the priest, she was finally freed from the demon. Let's just hope that the demon died and didn't get passed along to anyone else. Next up at number 8, sleepless nights. The year was 2011, the time was 3 AM, and this Reddit user was lying in bed when out of nowhere they lost complete control of their limbs. They could speak, they could see, but their body was being jerked around all over the place. They said their feet and fingers were tapping, shoulders couldn't stop shrugging, and when they asked into the empty room if anyone was there, their right hand raised into the air and gave a thumbs up. With no control to stop it, they just laid there hoping and praying the demon would leave their body. And luckily for whoever this was, by morning whatever had possessed them seemed to be gone for good. Let's just hope that whatever it was doesn't come back with a vengeance. Coming in at number 7, Sleep Talker. While some seem to have chalked up this haunting encounter to sleep talking, Reddit user Adventure Time believes he was possessed and has no recollection. He says his girlfriend told him she awoke just before 3 AM because he wouldn't stop picking up his head to look out the window. When she asked him what was wrong, all he said was to go back to sleep. He was speaking in a strange voice unlike his own, and when she asked him things like when was his birthday or his parents' names, he couldn't answer. His girlfriend asked if he was going to hurt her, to which he replied no, but when asked if he would protect her, he stayed silent, creeping her out even further. She detailed that her boyfriend kept repeating that all would be done at 3 AM, and just as promised, as soon as the clock struck 3, he went right to sleep with no memory of the haunting event, but truly terrified that whatever it was that possessed him that night might just return, and this time might not be so kind. Coming in at number 6, the Green Aura Man. Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? It's this awful phenomenon where essentially you are fully awake and conscious but unable to move or speak. And And if that wasn't bad enough, some experience what has been coined as a sleep paralysis demon. And one Reddit user claims that she was possessed by one of those very entities. At 3 a.m., the demon with a green aura smiled at her, and then suddenly she began to feel very angry. The anger lasted days, and she began to feel violent towards her boyfriend. When she went to tell her boyfriend she needed help, she heard the spirit speak to her saying, "You wanted to see me, so here I am. Look at me." She apparently sought out the help from her grandmother, but nothing else about her is known. Was she able to free herself from the demon, or does she remain trapped and possessed to this day? Coming in at number 5, a real-life Annabelle. Like something out of a horror movie, this husband and wife paranormal investigation team claims that they have a Raggedy Ann doll that is possessed. Their wild claim came after video surveillance footage from 3 in the morning showed the doll moving out of its display cabinet and flipping over a Ouija board. Lee and Lindsay run a museum of haunted objects from their home, and while there, Lindsay has felt things grab her by the neck and even witnessed objects flying across the room. The doll, which they acquired in 2019, is an identical copy of the notorious Annabelle doll from the 1970s that's inspired the Conjuring series, and they believe their doll to be possessed, just as that one is believed to be. According to the couple, after they received the doll, they were in a nearly fatal car crash, and on a separate occasion, Lindsay was hospitalized for nearly a week with doctors having no clue what was wrong with her. Sounds to me like they have a demon living in their house, so let's just hope they can get rid of it before it's too late. Coming in at number 4, the Perron family. This family was actually the inspiration for the Conjuring series, but sadly their fate is much darker than the films. Just like any good horror movie, it all started with a beautiful, too good to be true house. After only a few nights there, the mother, Carolyn, began seeing the ghost of a woman who had taken her own life in the house and became very afraid. The family decided to enlist the help of paranormal investigators who came to perform a seance, but unfortunately things took a turn when they uncovered the dark history of their home. Previously it was owned by a witch who sacrificed her firstborn to Satan and then took her own life to complete the ritual, and then out of nowhere, Caroline became possessed by the spirit, writhing and screaming while her whole family watched in horror. Allegedly, the investigators tried to exorcise the demon out of the mother, but unfortunately were not able to, and the father kicked them out of the house. Unable to move due to financial constraints, the family remained and were haunted for the next several years by the demonic entity, scarring them for life. Coming in at number 3, camping trip disaster. Now, no names were mentioned for this story, so to make it easier, I'm gonna make them up. One night on a camping trip with a few other friends, one friend, let's call her Megan, witnessed what she can only describe as a demonic possession. After a long day, the group got ready for bed and all climbed into their tent. Megan awoke in the middle of the night to find one of her friends, let's call her Sarah, standing up in the corner of the tent, slapping her arms hysterically to her sides in a trance-like state, while maniacally laughing and crying simultaneously. Sarah began to examine her body like she'd never seen it before, and Megan, creeped out, tried to ignore it and went back to sleep. The next morning all seemed to be fine, but that night things got creepy again. Sarah and Megan were out for a walk when Megan witnessed the switch in her eyes as she creepily smiled at her and said, "I'm not listening," before crawling around on all fours and taunting Megan the whole night. Terrified, Megan ran away before the demon could get to her, and although she has remained in contact with Sarah, trying to get her help, she refuses to see her in person since the horrifying weekend. Next up at number 2, Robbie Mannheim. Robbie Mannheim was actually the real-life inspiration for The Exorcist. In the 1930s, when Robbie was just 13 years old, he decided he wanted to contact his deceased aunt. Now, he made 2 very bad decisions. 1, he did so in the middle of the night, and 2, he used a Ouija board. Now, not long after his 3 a.m. seance, strange things started happening to Robbie. Furniture would dart across the house, religious art on the walls would vibrate or fall when he walked by, and classmates even reported his desk flying across the room. Priests eventually agreed to perform an exorcism on the boy, but the demon was not so keen to leave. Allegedly, he attacked the priests with superhuman strength when they tried to free him of the spirit, but thankfully the priests won this one and the demon was expelled. So, moral of the story is, stop messing around with Ouija boards, especially if it's the middle of the night. you might not be as lucky as Robbie. And last up in our number 1 spot, Michael Taylor. Back in 1974, a beloved family man without any previous criminal history seemed to suddenly change overnight into a different person. After the fateful night, he was all of a sudden flirting with a woman at his church, and after she turned him down, he became extraordinarily violent. It was so out of character for Michael that the church decided to exorcise him, believing that he was possessed. They strapped him down and allegedly exorcised a whopping 40 demons from his body, but it would turn out that that wasn't enough, as still 3 demons remained inside him. That night, Michael brutally killed and dismembered his wife and dog, and upon being arrested, told the police he was possessed by a force compelling him to destroy everything living within his house. He was sent to a psychiatric facility, but it seems like those last 3 demons remained attached to the man for the rest of his life.
Coming in at number 10, we have Jay-Z. Can you become the king of the rap game without selling your soul to the devil? Well, probably, but people still think that Jay-Z must have made some sort of deal with the devil in order to make it to the top. There's a lot of hints of satanic symbols in his music videos, and people think that he is in the Illuminati. And this could be real. Maybe him and Beyonce are in a league of evil rich people who want to make the world fall apart so they can control it. But in order to think that Jay-Z is in the Illuminati and sold his soul to the devil, you have to believe in the Illuminati, and you have to believe in the devil, and if you don't believe in either of those, Jay-Z is just a very successful guy. That's it. Coming in number 9, we have Johann Georg Faust. Now this one's a little bit of a weird one, because it's hard to tell if a dude from the 16th century sold his soul to the devil because he actually put a pentagram on the ground, threw some goat's blood on it, and did a little dance and sung a little song, and then shook hands with the devil, or was it because he was just an astronomer, and back then people thought that meant you worked with the devil. But this dude apparently worked with the devil to get his fame. The devil offered him 16 years at the top of the world of science. When his time came, the devil arrived and he renegotiated. He was able to squeeze out another 8 years out of the devil, and at the end of the 8 years, he would pass and everyone would say the devil took his soul. Now this is the part of the story that makes it seem like there could have been something to do with the devil going on. When he died, apparently there was an explosion of fire, and all that was found was bits and pieces of his body. Now this could have been an experiment gone wrong that took place in Faust's home, but I don't know what kind of explosives an astronomer would be messing around with. People think that this explosion could have been the devil popping in and ripping his soul right from his body. Maybe he shouldn't have made this deal. Who knows? Coming in number 8, we have Tom Hanks. No way. Not Tom Hanks. There's no way that one of the nicest dudes in the world could have sold his soul to the devil. Well, let's look at the evidence first. He has not only been very successful in Hollywood, but he has also won many Oscars. That is supposed to be a sign that you are part of the Illuminati. He has a really rude son, and that might be because God has cursed him for worshiping the devil. I mean, that is probably just what happens when a kid grows up rich and his parents are too nice to put him in his place, but it also could be the work of God laying down his wrath. But even all of that doesn't mean he sold his soul to the devil so he could be rich through the Illuminati forever. But then people who love to dive deep into conspiracy theories say that Tom Hanks got coronavirus. So that means that he is a pawn in the Illuminati plan. He faked getting sick so that people would believe in the virus and they could continue to take over the world. Whoa! I love these sold your soul stories because they just get crazier and crazier. Coming at number 7, we have Urbain Grandier. It would seem that the devil's reaches far because he has even made a pact with a dude who was the Pope. Now, there isn't a whole lot of evidence that proves whether or not Urbain sold his soul before or after he was Pope, but there is a lot of evidence that this dude was up to some nefarious stuff. He would apparently host and had a number of sexual partners. There's stories of him torturing people who he didn't agree with, and he was also practicing witchcraft. There was a group of nuns that was said to have disrespected him, the Pope of all people, and he sent a demon after them to ruin their life. Well, unlike now, back when this dude was Pope in 1634, if people thought you were up to something with the devil, you would be done for sure. Enough people came forward and accused this guy of witchcraft that there was a trial. During the trial, there was a lot of evidence evidence. There was a contract that had backwards writing on it, said to be the work of the devil, that had the devil's signature on it, or apparently it did. I'm not sure how they fact-checked that one, but many people came forward to disclose this guy's unpope-like acts, and eventually he was burned at the stake. My god. Coming in at number 6, we have Pope Sylvester II. 2 popes back to back. I think it's just salacious to say that a pope was in cahoots with the devil. That's why when you go through history you can find a few popes that have been called out for loving the Dark Lord. Now the difference with Pope Sylvester is that it wasn't that he was excessively rich or because he was involved in sinful acts, it was actually because he was too smart. This guy invented the pendulum lock and the hydraulic organ, and he was in contact with Eastern religions and peoples to get ideas of what they were doing over there so he could incorporate their brilliance into his own society. And because of this, people said he might have got his all-powerful mind from making a deal with the devil. I guess things never change, because now when someone makes it to the top, everyone says they're in the Illuminati. Coming in at number 5, we have Eminem. We all love the story of someone starting at the bottom and now they're here. We love when people are the underdog and work their way to the top. We love how people can defy the odds and become one of the most influential people in the world. Well, that's until they're actually at the top. Then we want to bring them down because it must have been the devil that got them all the way up there. That's the story with Eminem. There have been countless accusations that the rapper made a deal with the devil to jump to stardom and forever be held as one of the best rappers of all time. This is from some of the imagery that you will find in his music videos, whether it's a goat's head, a triangle, a single eye, or many of the other objects that are related to the devil. Well, the rumors about him don't stop there. They also say that the real Eminem is dead, that when he fell out of the public eye for a bit, he pushed back against the Illuminati and no longer wanted to do their bidding. So they killed him and replaced him with a clone that they can control, and that's where he got his perfect beard from. Coming in at number 4, we have Jaden Smith. Can you pass down a deal with the devil to your kids? Like kind of grandfathering them into the product like an old phone contract? Is that possible? Can you do that? I don't know how the devil works. I'm not famous enough to get in contact with him, but apparently Jaden Smith has been gifted the allegiance to the devil through his dad. People base this off of Will Smith's fame and the fact that Jaden has some strange beliefs about the world. He's very interested in a thing called orgos. It's a strange culty belief that the world is governed by positive and negative forces that we can't see. That kind of sounds like midichlorians from Star Wars. But people think that he's using a demonic subsect to try and get people into the Church of Satan. Coming in at number 3, we have Katy Perry. If you become a massive celebrity, there's only one answer, and that is the Illuminati. There's no other reason you could make it to the top. Well, for Katy Perry, that's what everyone thinks. There is a ton of stuff we could pull from, but her biggest one is the music video Dark Horse. Because if any celebrity does anything that even comes close to resembling a pyramid, you better believe that conspiracy theory people are going to come running for it. And of course, this music video has an Egyptian theme, meaning that she must have sold her soul to the devil. There was also the time she performed at the Grammys and they had her in a witch's theme with a massive crystal ball. This means that she was, of course, doing a satanic ritual in front of the whole world. I mean, what else could it be? Coming in at number 2, we have Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell was a fading politician and commander in the 17th century. Every champion must fall, and usually they don't get back up after their time has come. But with Cromwell, it was quite the opposite. He was able to have a second breath in his career. He was able to stand in the limelight once more. He was able to have all the people clamor at his feet and become the top dog once again. This second run at life saw him become a prominent political figure and a very skilled tactician. While this was probably hard work and intelligent moves, most people wrote this off as the man selling his soul to the devil. Now, the backing to this theory comes from the legend about him when he dies. There was apparently a storm that came over the city and was raging the entire night. People say this was the devil coming down to claim his soul. Now, that might have been true, but I don't know if the devil would go to that much work to get one soul. This guy's getting thousands of souls every day, hundreds of thousands every day. If he had to put on a massive light show to get each one of them, he would never be able to wrangle them all up. He just wouldn't have enough time. And coming into the number 1 spot, we have Christian Bale, probably the best Batman ever, and one of the kings of the meme world with the amount of juice people have been able to pull out of his hit American Psycho. I've never seen American Psycho, but I want to just so I can have a better understanding of what scenes these memes come from. But when did the Dark Knight himself decide to give his soul to the devil and become one of the Dark Lord's little minions? Well, we don't know the exact time of when this might have happened, but Christian Bale has actually publicly thanked Satan after winning a Golden Globe for his work in the movie Vice, where he played Dick Cheney, remember the vice president who shot his friend by mistake, and might have had a hand in the whole Guantanamo Bay thing. Well, during his acceptance speech, Christian Bale went down the regular road of saying thank you to all the people close to him, and then he capped it off by saying thank you to Satan for inspiration. Now, this might have just been the actor taking a stab at how ruthless Dick Cheney is, saying that the man is actually the devil, or maybe he was actually thanking the devil for giving him the juice he needs to do what he needed to do to play the role. Like the devil materialized in his room and helped him go over lines. If that is the case, the devil doesn't seem like that bad of a dude.
Number 10. Dragons. Dragons have been part of mythology for a while, but they've also been a part of Christian legends. St. George himself, apparently he slayed a dragon. I can't even paintball and this man took down a biblical dragon. Revelation 22, it reads, "And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. 1,000 years? I feel like we needed more time than 1,000 years. I don't know. What year is it again? We're due for a couple of dragons. Sleep in fear. Number 9, the second beast. Yeah, I know. I'll get to the first one later. You know how we do it here on YouTube. You won't believe number 4. Know what I mean? Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb and it spoke like a dragon, causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. So there were a lot of witnesses. I'm sure that was quite jarring for every party involved. Also, it causes everybody, both small and great, rich and poor alike, you'll be marked by this demon. You'll be marked on your right hand or your forehead so that no one can buy or sell from you unless, they get rid of that mark. That's the name of the beast, or the number of its name. Revelation 13:16. Number 8, giants. Mentioned in Samuel 17:158. And there came out from the camp a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits at a span. I'm 6'2", I don't know what that means, but that's pretty tall. He had a helmet of bronze on his head and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. Spoiler alert, Goliath fell to David, but there's a race of giants called the Amorites, and well, they stepped in a bit. They're actually mentioned more than 80 times in the Bible. One description mentioned in Amos 2:9-10 paints quite the picture. Yet it was I who destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit above and his roots beneath. Also it was I who brought you up from the land of Egypt, and led you 40 years through the wilderness to possess the land of the Amorite. That is quite the description. If somebody were to describe me, they'd be like, ah yes, Taylor, the height of that bush, and the strength also of that bush. Number 7. 4 beasts of Daniel. 4 beasts, that's a lot of beasts. It's like a foreign one here. The first was like a lion and it had eagle wings. Quote, "That as I watched, its wings were plucked off and I was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a human being. And a human mind was then given to it." Daniel 7:4. Yep, that sounds like a pretty intimidating thing to see. These entities are described as a lion with eagle wings, and there's also a bear, there's also a leopard, and this 4th beast that's still a complete mystery. So there you go, fill in the blanks yourself. The bear has 3 ribs in its mouth also, between its teeth. It's very scary to look at. The leopard also has wings as well as 4 heads. So it's like 8 beasts in total. It's like 8, we got like 13 now. How many heads are we counting here? Heads or bodies? Like how are we counting them? The mysterious 4th beast is apparently full of horns, and it's got iron teeth and 10 horns protruding out from it. So it's full of horns and it's got more horns. All the horns. The beast symbolizes the great 4 kingdoms, but the ribs and the teeth thing, that's gonna be in my head rent free. That's really scary. Number 6, the Nephilim. The Nephilim are demigods. They were described, of course, as being gigantic in size, and in Genesis 6:1-4, they're mentioned as such. When people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they had chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit shall not abide in immortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. Again, awfully high, maybe 80s, that's okay with me. 120, I don't want to limp to my death. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. So these sons of God, these fallen ones, many believe are not the greatest. They're fallen sons like Lucifer, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Number 1333, there's a passage that says, "And there we saw the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." Yeah, giants, we're grasshoppers with Lucifer in the picture. No thanks. I've never felt smaller, if I'm being honest, or scared. Number 5. The Leviathan. Isaiah 27:1, quote, "In that day the Lord will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent with his fierce and great and mighty sword, even Leviathan the twisted serpent, and he will kill the dragon who lives in the sea." Yeah, we're talking about sea monsters now. This one has more than one head, again, as do most on this list. The Leviathan is a beast of chaos, specifically. It was defeated at the hands of God, and once upon a time, Sir Humphrey Gilbert saw a beast in the sea that had a lion's head. What do you know? Could it be? Many biblical verses mention said Leviathan. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Who dares open the doors of its mouth? Ringed about with fearsome teeth. Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Yeah, if this was a boss in Zelda, I wouldn't win this battle. This is I've never heard something described so fiercely in my entire life. Number 4. The first beast. Welcome. Told you we'd do it. Number 4. You won't believe it. Let's do it. We talked about the second beast, so, in Quentin Tarantino fashion, we gotta do the first one afterwards, get you caught up. The first one, literally the first beast, is referred to in Revelation 13:1-2. And I stood upon the sands of the sea, and I saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. There's actually 2 of these monsters. This one has 7 heads and 10 horns. This beast was once a great king, but before it could rule, it was cast into perdition. There's many who believe that this first beast is a literal antichrist. Number 3. Vampires. Remember when Edward said to Bella in the woods, "Say it." And then she's like, "Vampire." That and Robin Williams' Jack, both really emotional on the soul. Well, it turns out vampires were real. Vampires were mentioned in around 50 verses from the Bible. Now, of course, this is an ongoing argument because, well, obviously we want to know if they're real, but the verse goes as such. There are those whose teeth are swords, whose fangs are knives, and they're to devour the poor from the earth, the needy from among mankind. Now, many believe, of course, it's not actual capes floating and turning into a bat vampire, and rather just the wealth of the people that's being devoured, But I don't know. Sea monsters, locusts, multiple heads with multiple horns. I don't know. It sounds like vampires would be the least of our concerns. Number 2. Plagues. We grew up studying medieval plagues, but did we ever imagine that we'd live through one like we did the past few years? Who could have predicted any of that? Why, the Bible. Of course, it was there all along. That's why we're here, right? Does it hold any clues to our impending doom? Has it been right before? Revelation 6 and Matthew 24 both foresee this pandemic hitting before the return of one Jesus Christ. So, I don't know. Maybe there's a silver lining. And he's got an excellent beard. He's due to arrive any minute now. And finally, number 1. Locusts. We saw these in 2016, just floating about. God, that was terrifying. This is Revelation 9:3-10. The Bible is home to some strange events, otherwise, terrifying. And then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. In appearance, the locusts were like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were what looked like crowns of gold, and their faces were like human faces. Well, that's terrifying. That's a scary, scary passage. I'm not coming for your beliefs in any way, shape, or form in this entire video, but that is jarring to imagine. Don't sin or you'll get locusts with human faces sent to fly your way. Awesome. Among the 10 plagues in the Bible, this one sounds like it's perhaps the worst because, well, I don't like bugs. 5 months of torment caused by pit locusts. This could happen. I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but back in 2016, locusts covered over 270,000 square miles in Russia. Just out of nowhere, just hundreds of thousands of locusts. Now, none of them had human faces, but it still sucked nonetheless.
First up at number 10, the Sasquatch. You know I had to add this one in there. It's tall, it's hairy, and nearly everyone and their neighbor claims to have witnessed the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape, also commonly known as Bigfoot, is a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. I mean, just a quick search and you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin's 1967 film where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day. And though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Throughout the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have spotted the Sasquatch roaming around the woods, many scientists still still attribute the sightings to either hoaxes or misidentification of known animals, usually black bears. But what do you think? Are you a believer in Bigfoot, or do you think it's all just one big lie?
In our number 9 spot today, we have Takolshi. This creature originated in South Africa and it appears in Zulu mythology. It is said that this creature is quite short, but very frightening. What it lacks in height, it makes up for in a vertical better than Michael Jordan in his prime. Legend has it that this creature likes to jump on people's chests at night while they are sleeping so that it can steal their breath away. Aside from the whole jumping thing, it is said that this creature is also quite fast, and one random fact is that it apparently loves curdled milk, which is disgusting. So while he's stealing your breath, I guess you just have to sit there smelling his hot milk breath. 0 out of 10 trade-off. There is a way to protect yourself against him, and that is by putting your bed on high bricks. This is because if the bed is raised too high, then this malevolent being won't be able to jump up on your chest to complete its breath-stealing work.
Coming in at number 8, we have the Canadian folklore monster, the Ogopogo. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, I'm sure you heard a story or two about this mythological sea creature. But could it be that there's more to the Ogopogo than we thought? The myth dates back thousands of years, with Salish indigenous people having passed along the stories about a spirit in the lake, which turned into what we now call the Ogopogo once the white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth-like skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she's not been the only one to come forward with the so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps and measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they did confirm that it didn't look anything like a known animal in the lake, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. Although there wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of the Ogopogos, from Sean's photo, the fact that there have been hundreds of people over the years coming forward with evidence to prove the legend speaks for itself. I mean, is it really out there? Well, no one's been able to provide enough hard proof. That doesn't mean the BC locals will stop trying anytime soon.
In our number 7 spot today, we have the Banshee. The Banshee is Ireland's most well-known dark spirit that roams around the countryside wailing when death is near. The good news about this one is that she does not cause death, but rather her presence is said to foreshadow the arrival of death. She often appears as a woman with long flowing hair, wearing a green dress with a grey cloak over top, and with eyes that are red for her continuous weeping. There are some, however, who have said she appears as an old woman with dirty, rotting teeth and long fingernails. There is not just one Banshee, however, so it makes sense that there are different appearances. Not all Banshees are evil or hate-filled. There are some who just have strong ties to their family and a desire to continue looking over them. The evil ones, however, are wailing as a form of celebration that the death is about to come. It is said that the wailing of a Banshee may only be able to be heard by the person for whom it is intended. So if you hear this call, I truly hope that you have one of the good ones.
Next up at our number 6 spot is the bunyip, with origins from indigenous Australian folklore dating back to 1812. This monster is said to lurk in the swamps and lagoons while waiting for its human prey to pass so it can pounce. The name bunyip roughly translates to the devil or evil spirit, and was certainly viewed as such by locals of the time. These terrifying monsters are most often described as being seal-like and measuring 4 to 6 feet long, with a shaggy dark coat and possessing a loud roar that's heard before their vicious attack. In the early 1800s, an English convict, William Buckley, escaped a penal colony and found himself living with the local indigenous people, for which he later wrote a biography detailing his life. In 1852, Buckley wrote that he saw the bunyip while living among the Aboriginal people, and according to his account, the bunyip was an extraordinary amphibious animal with grey feathers covering its back and devoured a woman from his community. As legend states, they apparently preferred women for their prey. Throughout the 1800s, many discovered unusual bones and fossils at the site of swamps and lagoons, only piquing curiosity of this tale further. Then in 1846, one particular obscure skull was put on display at the Australian museum for 2 days, at which time hundreds of alleged Bunyip sightings came out of the woodworks, including a group of men who claimed to have seen a stranger disappear while they were on a boat only a yard away from them. So what do you say? Are you feeling brave enough to test out the swamps of Australia to find out for yourself?
In our number 5 spot today, we have La Llorona. The weeping woman is actually named Maria, and she is from Mexico. She has long black hair and is known for her greedy heart. When she was alive, the man she loved would not love her back, and the legend says that because of this, she did some very horrible things. Realizing the terrible things she did in her fit of rage, she ended up throwing herself into the ocean. After her passing, because of her sins, heaven would not allow her in, and instead she was condemned to wander the world in eternal grief. When people see her, she is usually walking, wearing all white and soaking wet. Legend says that sometimes she snatches people up as she mistakes them for her own children. It is said that she can be summoned by going into the bathroom, turning all of the lights out, and splashing water on the mirror before you say her name 3 times. Try it if you dare.
Coming in at number 4, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say the creature could devour a whole ship and its crew in its entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim round the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. In 18th century, scientists linked this myth to reality by including the Kraken among the cephalopod mollusks in the first edition of Systema Naturae, and it would only be further linked to reality when in 1853 a giant cephalopod was found stranded on a Norwegian beach. After 150 years of research into giant squids and octopi, it's still unclear whether the legend of the Kraken, as is told, was entirely true, but we know for certain that giant squids swim among us every day. And I mean, what do we really know about what lies deep, deep down in the depths of the ocean?
In our number 3 spot today, we have the Papabawa. This evil creature is found stalking the Tanzanian island of Pemba and is one of those creepy beings that has the ability to shapeshift. Sometimes seen as a bat and sometimes seen in human form, the creature prefers to come out at night, and anyone is a target, although it definitely prefers men. The legend of the Papabawa has had people on the island scared since the origins of the story, especially a few years ago when there was actually a real-life string of attacks on men in the area which were being tied to this demon. The important part of this one is that those who encounter the evil creature must tell others and spread the word. If they fail to do this, the Papabawa will continue to attack, and we all know that that is just not good. During times when people are worried about being attacked by this creature, many people can be seen sitting outside of their homes at night, often huddled around an open fire with their friends and family, as when people are in their homes sleeping is when the creature most likes to attack.
In the number 2 spot, we have the truly terrifying chupacabra. Derived mainly from Puerto Rico and Mexico, the chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker. This mythical legend is reported to attack and drink the blood of livestock. Oddly, it seems like no one can land on a unifying description, with many in Puerto Rico saying it resembles a more reptilian-like creature the size of a small bear with prominent spines from head to tail. Others alleged sightings from the southwest United States have depicted it as more dog-like. The legend began back in 1975 when a small Puerto Rican town by the name of Mocha experienced a devastating loss of their town livestock, finding them drained of their blood by several small circular incisions. Originally, the town suspected the horrors to be linked to a satanic cult, but a few years later in 1995, another 8 sheep were found to have the same fate. To make matters worse, a few months later, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claims to have witnessed the creature, where it would later be found that another 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed, with these animals dropping left, right, and center. It's no wonder locals started suspecting the culprit to be the legendary chupacabra. But what say you? A satanic cult or the work of a blood-sucking creature?
In our number 1 spot today, we have La Ciguapa. The legend of the Ciguapa comes from the Dominican Republic, and it is a group of small feral women who inhabit the mountainous areas. They wait in the shadows, lurking around, waiting to capture lonely men. They have extremely long hair that covers their small, thin thin bodies, and they also have dark blue skin and backwards feet. They are nocturnal creatures, and because of their feet, it is hard to track exactly which way they are going, if tracking their footprints. Not only do they capture the men in order to take their lives, but it is also said that if you look one in the eye, you'll be bewitched. Legend says that the only way to defeat one of these creatures is to capture them by tracking them at night, during a full moon, and with a black and white dog with an extra toe. That is definitely one of the most specific things I've ever heard, but that is what the legend says, and I'm not trying to take any kind of chances here.
Starting us off with number 10 are the ash bullets. This was from a native Navajo who was coming back from the Navajo Nation Fair with his family and grandmother. How many times am I gonna say Navajo in this video, I swear. The conversation somehow got onto skinwalkers, but his grandma shut it down pretty quickly. That night, as he was just in bed, he heard something moving outside his house. Thinking it was a stray dog or something, he didn't think much of it, but then he heard the loudest distorted scream, shat himself, then ran downstairs and woke up his mum. They looked outside the window and saw this coyote thing limping towards the door, dragging his right leg as he did. It started scratching at the door and moaning, and all his parents could do was shout words in Navajo at it, telling it wasn't welcome there. At this point, everyone in the house was awake and panicked, but his granddad knew exactly what to do. He went and got a handgun from a drawer and a bag of ashes. I don't know where he got this bag of ashes from, but he did, and he coated the bullets in it and loaded the gun. He went to the door shouting Navajo words and then opened the door and fired twice, but the thing escaped unscathed. His granddad turned around and said, "That's the fastest one I've ever seen." So he's a pro veteran at this, clearly. It was about 4 AM by the time everyone actually calmed down, and the family actually went to a medicine man the next day to be blessed against the skinwalker. Coming in at number 9 is the chase. So this was from a cop called J.G. Buckland, and he recalled how he was once working the night shift at a hotel in New Mexico. He was patrolling the hotel in his car when he decided to take a nap, just what I like to hear from the cop. A bit after 2 AM, something hit the bottom of his car so hard it actually swayed. Mind you, this was a 1978 Thunderbird, so it was a big heavy car. I mean, it's not easy to make it move. JG woke up and drove forward and saw there was a dog sort of thing sitting where his car had been. But as he started looking at it, he felt like he was drowning in this dark energy and that this thing was just pure evil. The face of the dog had human features, mostly the eyes, but it didn't have a snout nose. That bit also looked more human, and it wasn't black tipped like a dog's nose. Size wise, it was slightly bigger than an adult German Shepherd, which are pretty big in and of itself. With this in mind, JG decided to hit the dog with his car, but it ran off the property but then back onto the property, so he started driving after it. It made its way into a third parking lot and then into a weedy area, and at this point JG was chasing it on foot with his gun. It came up and threw him aside like he was made of air and then ran away. This thing ran into the weedy area on 4 legs and exited on 2, so the dog was now a nude man that was screaming as it left, and after that encounter, JG had such bad luck, health problems, etc. after this, so he actually went to a shaman to get cleansed from this experience. And I want to be cleansed from telling the story. At number 8 we have the lookalikes. This one's from Redditor JibbyJam1, who was in New Mexico exploring some old Spanish ruins with some friends. While they were at one of the sites at night, they suddenly heard an angry, ear-piercing, blood-curdling scream, which prompted them to want to get the hell out of there. They went back to their camp, and a while later the user went for a piss about 300 meters from the camp, and this is where things got weird. He remembered seeing 2 dust devils coming towards him, but when he turned around, it was just 2 of his friends who were motioning him to follow them, which he did almost like he was being sucked into doing so. He followed his friends for like 10-15 minutes, but as he was snapping back to reality, he realized these weren't his friends at all. His friends had bright red hair, and these 2 people's faces were identical to his friends', but they both had cat-like eyes and were brunette. He stopped in his tracks and they turned to look at him as if they were about to kill him on the spot. He ran in a full sprint back to the camp where his friends hadn't even realized he was gone. Great friends you have, by the way. And he told them what had happened, and they packed the hell up and drove back to Albuquerque. Filling our number 7 slot is the delivery trip. This one's from Reddit user Neptune420, whose dad ran a small delivery service in Farmington, New Mexico. One day they got a delivery for Window Rock, Arizona on the Navajo reservation, and the dad decided to take his Navajo friend Travis and his girlfriend with him as they wanted to see some family there. So they took 2 separate trucks and had walkie-talkies with them so they could communicate
communicate between vehicles. The trip and delivery went fine, they had a great day, but then on their way back, that was when things really took a turn for the worst. They're driving towards a hill, and as they crest it, the dad sees what he thinks is a giant dog sitting on its haunches in the middle of the road facing away from them. He walkies his friend Travis in the other car, asking if he sees the dog, to which Travis replies, "That is not a dog, speed up right now and hit it." Hysterically, he went on and said, "Hit it, JJ, you have to hit it, please hit that thing right now." So the dad speeds up, and as they get closer, they see the dog's matted hair seems to have dried blood all over it, and just before they hit it, it turned around to reveal that it had a face. The face was a hybrid between a bear and a human, but it looked distorted and in pain, and as soon as they hit it, it screamed like it was drowning and then ran into the nearby field. They saw a cop a little while later, and Travis made them pull over and was completely on edge when he told the officer that they saw a skinwalker a few miles back and it had been following them. The officer, who was Navajo himself, turned white, stammered something unintelligible, and then got into his car and left. Very helpful. But what I took away from the story is the fact that the dad, no questions asked, just hit this thing. Like, he didn't even question Travis, like, oh, why should I hit that dog? He just went from 0 to 100 real quick, fast and furious real quick. Now at number 6 is the walking coyote. Now this one's from Redditor Endelos, who said during the early 80s her sister was on the way back from a friend's at night when her car broke down. Thankfully, she broke down in front of a family friend's house, so she went in and called her dad, and he came to get her. They were driving back at around 10 PM and were passing a heavily wooded area when out of nowhere they hear an incredibly loud inhuman scream. The user's dad hit the brakes just in time to see a 6-foot-tall coyote with a black and white striped tail walking on just 2 legs. Thankfully, I don't think the sister or dad were its true targets because it disappeared quite quickly after that, but then they heard the same scream again, only 10 times louder than the first time. This time the dad didn't brake, he accelerated out of that situation ASAP. Coming in at number 5 is the Running Man. This one's from Brent Swanson, and funnily enough, it also took place near Window Rock, Arizona. He was driving on the highway at night when he saw what seemed to be a large coyote sitting in the middle of the road. He slowed down so he wouldn't hit it, unlike that other user's dad, and he found that the coyote wasn't scared of the car at all. It didn't even move a muscle when Brent honked at it, so he just decided to save himself the trouble and drive around it. As he drove away, his dad turned to him and went, "Would you look at that?" and he was referring to the coyote who was now chasing behind the car. The coyote then matched the speed of the car running right alongside it, and then out of nowhere the coyote becomes a naked running man. Still keeping pace with the car, mind you. The man started slapping the car while having the creepiest grin on his face. Like, I can just imagine that, and I just don't want to imagine it anymore. At this point, they're going like 50 miles per hour, but he's still there. To end his pursuit, the man let out a loud wail and then swerved away. Either way, Brent and his dad were terrified, and I would have been too, but for some reason, I really can't shake the image that this naked man looked like the guy who plays Aquaman. I don't know why, it's just in my head. At number 4 is the party. This one's from Redditor Trey_Lightning, who said that anytime his mum would take him to her hometown on the reservation, she'd always tell him a skinwalker story. But this particular one was told to him by his aunt. Now back in the day, his aunt and her friends used to party a lot, and one day they got in a van, drove out to the boondocks and just drank. A bit after sunset, everyone was laughing and in good spirits when they heard what sounded like rocks being thrown at the van. The sound stopped, but then an even bigger sound followed, and they quickly realized someone or something had just jumped onto the roof of the van. They lock all the doors, and his aunt is in the driver's seat trying to start the engine, but obviously it doesn't start, like in every horror movie ever. Such timely engine failure, I swear. But anyway, the thing on the roof is still banging on the van, and then his aunt sees a hand with the long nails reach over the roof and start scratching the windshield. Then it jumps off and walks up to her window and just stares at her. And his poor little aunt at this point is just praying for her life, but then after a few minutes of panicking, screaming, and staring, the thing leaves them and the van finally starts, miraculously bang on time, and they leave. leave. Filling our number 3 slot is the white powder. This one comes from an anonymous Navajo woman living in Shiprock, New Mexico. She said during one of her visits home, she heard her dogs relentlessly barking at something outside, and then she heard a loud thud above her on the roof. Her sisters got quite scared, and her parents assured her it was just a dog or a cat and just to go to sleep. Parents really need to stop telling us it's just a cat or a dog, because clearly, as we've seen, it's not. But anyway, the dogs were continually barking and running back and forth, and then she heard a metal pole hit one of the dogs, and she knew it was a pole because her sister had put it on the roof the day before. She tried to get up but fell into a deep sleep, and the last thing she heard were human footsteps on the roof. The next day there was nothing suspicious on the roof or around, but her cousin did complain about her head hurting, and the next day she straight up died, just like that. They brought a medicine man to conduct a ceremony, and he said that 2 of you know exactly what happened. He went on to say it was a man in bare skin on the roof of the house, and he was using a hummingbird as a lookout and a helper, and he blew white powder onto the woman's cousin, which is why she died, but that was also the reason why everyone in the house fell into a deep sleep that night. The ceremony went on, and the woman later found out that the powder used was crushed human bones taken from graveyards, as if the story wasn't screwed up enough. Now at number 2 is the herd. This one's also from Redditor Navajo Joe, which is quite fitting, I guess, but when he was a kid, him and his uncle were on their way back from chopping and gathering firewood. They were going slow on this dirt road, and Joe just had this feeling he was being watched, and he was about to look out his window when his uncle shouted, "Don't." He then heard 3 taps on his window as his heart literally felt like it had stopped beating. His uncle started praying and going faster, and he thought all was okay, but then the truck dipped from the bed. At this point his uncle just kept saying, "Look at me, don't turn away, just look at me please," and he heard the tapping again. Joe was now crying at this point as the truck dipped for the 2nd and 3rd time. Finally his uncle gave a sigh of relief and said they'd both need prayers in the morning so the evil would forget their faces. When they got home, Joe called his uncle a while later because he had had a nightmare. His uncle said he didn't see any faces, just eyes, like they were just lights on the road. Joe asked him why he didn't just slam on the brakes when it was in the back, and his uncle replied saying because it wasn't alone. When I read that the first time, it legit just gave me shivers. Like, how can you end a story like that because it wasn't alone? That's a great. And finally, at number 1 is The Thing. So this one again is from Joe, and he lived on the reservation when the story took place. He was home with his 2 brothers and dogs one night when they started making a lot of noise outside. People, you have to trust your dogs when they're barking at stuff outside. It's probably a skinwalker. In the middle of the night, Joe and his brother woke up because the barking started again. He went outside and saw that one of the dogs was just losing it near the truck. When he looked there was a really tall man there looking at the dog and then kicking it. When it looked up, it had a pure white face, a pure black smile, and red burning eyes. It came to him and towered over him, and all Joe could see was a deep red. Things are clearly not going well at this point. His brother finally came out of the house not knowing what was going on, and at this stage the thing's hands were inches away from Joe's head. From what he could recall, its skin was black and it smelled like a bloated dead animal, and he was just stood there unable to move or speak. The skinwalker let him be and went for his brother instead, which is what finally broke Joe out of this trance and made him really angry. He started baring his teeth at it and growling in a way he didn't even know he could do. He kept roaring at it while it smiled back at him, and his smile faded the angrier Joe got, and then he just ran away into the night. That's it. No murder, no clawing at the face, just ran away into the night.
Coming up at our number 10 spot, we have Chelsea Handler. Comedian Chelsea Handler has been accused of being a shapeshifter, and it's all because of footage that showed up online showcasing her in an interview, and when you zoom in close to her eyes, they appear for a moment to look like they turn into slits. This probably won't be surprising for you to hear if you watched parts 1 or 2 of the series, because it seems that almost all celebs could be reptiles. I don't know. She can be pretty funny, perhaps otherworldly funny. If you're liking this video so far, would you give it a like, as it really helps us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Nancy Pelosi. If you are someone living outside of America, then you may not know who this woman is. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. She's seemingly one of these politicians that you either love or hate, and the people that lean more on the hate side might also lean into this news a little too. Nancy could be a shapeshifter. Yep, a lot lot of people speculate over this as footage surfaced online showing her right eye doing something crazy when she was talking once. Something that is legit impossible. She's speaking and then all of a sudden it's like her eye rolls back and it becomes fully white with like a black dot slash slit in the middle, and then her real eye returns. It's very strange. This lasts for at least 1.5 seconds, enough that it's very, very noticeable. I don't know, man. If she's not a reptile, then she's gotta be something else, cause this is not human what I just saw. These videos are making me question everyone now. Every so often I have a moment and think, what if everyone is a reptile and I'm amongst the few humans left? And what if their goal is to depopulate us and to continue to grow and populate themselves? It's a very trippy thought. In our number 8 spot we have Rihanna. No, not Riri. I don't want to believe it. My Disney princess inner essence wants to believe in the good, and Rihanna is one of the good ones. She's not a shape-shifting reptile. But wait, actually maybe being a reptile isn't a bad thing. Maybe there are good reptiles. Okay, all jokes aside, there is some sus footage of Rihanna out there that could have you convinced that she is possibly one of them and just shape-shifting to look like her beautiful self. In this footage, we once again see the transformation in her eyes like we have in quite a few other people's. But the thing is, the footage is rather blurry, so it's kinda hard to say that she fits in within this group. I'm gonna say she doesn't and just move on to the next one. That's my bias, cause I like her. In our number 7 spot, we have a mysterious creature. Okay, this footage kinda makes me laugh because on one hand, it looks like someone dressed up in a costume playing a practical joke. But on the other hand, if it's real, then this is crazy. That is an alien-looking man out in broad daylight with white-ish eyes and green skin that's a bit textured with what looks to be triangles all over him that are different shades of green. It's curious that no one seems to notice him or his peculiar look. If I was standing beside this man and noticed him for the first time, I would, jump. Like do one of those. Which poses the question, is he just visible via camera and invisible in real life? That would be pretty nuts if that's the case. I did a lot of digging on this one and I haven't seen anyone debunk it yet, so I wonder about it. If this is real and there's aliens like him walking among us, then damn, we've been fooled. In our number 6 spot, we have the sports reptilian. Okay, your girl is not into sports much. I'm a fake Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I only watch them when they're winning, like the rest of Toronto though. All Torontonians do is complain about the Leafs until there's hope that they might do well. So it's not just me. Anyways, so my point is that I know nothing about sports or even what sport this footage was taken at or even who this guy being interviewed is. All I know is the guy behind him is most definitely a shape-shifting reptilian. No way around it. This footage is great and you can see his eyes as clear as day and you cannot convince me otherwise. This guy is definitely not human. He's just casually hanging out behind whomever is being interviewed, and every so often the camera gets a clear shot of his piercing blue eyes that also have a black slit within them. Some people believe that the reptiles are intentionally revealing themselves in footage like this. Honestly, that theory would make sense because otherwise how could they let footage like this get out there? But anyways, this one is nuts. In our number 5 spot, we have Shakira. Pop star Shakira has been accused of being a shapeshifter reptilian. I mean, her voice is angelic and not very human-like, so it makes sense. I mean, her voice is angelic, so someone could argue that it's possibly not human-like. Video footage was taken of her speaking in an interview, and yep, you guessed it, her eyes changed very briefly. Now, it is honestly not the easiest to spot as her eye color is quite dark and possibly also the lighting of the video might have sucked too, but when the footage is slowed down and analyzed closely, it does appear that something is going on. Her eye definitely changes, but is it a full-on slit like so many on this list? It's hard to say. Are there any celebs left that are human? In our number 4 spot, we have 2 aliens walking down the street. I honestly don't know what to call this one other than 2 aliens walking down the street because honestly, that's what it definitely seems like. Either they are aliens or they're people from some kind of Buffy the Vampire set, but apparently this footage is really random and that's why people believe it to be real. Supposedly these 2 men weren't near any kind of set or anything, and that's what makes this more mysterious. The men appear to have very big and different looking ears, darkened eyes, and a bigger nose than most people. Honestly, now that I think about it, they look like they just stepped out of Halloween Town. Tell me you know that movie franchise. It's amazing. We're big on Halloween at my house. Anyways, honestly, movies have made me close-minded to the possibility of seeing someone like this in real life, so it's so hard for me to believe that this is real, but who knows? In our number 3 spot, we have glowing eye. Okay, this video makes me want to laugh, but honestly, I could also believe that there's something weird going on here. It appears that the footage was taken in some kind of cave, and the cave is somewhat dark in the distance, and all of a sudden you see 2 glowing orbs look out at the camera in the distance. Then it appears to give us a little bit more of itself, and it looks like it's a very weird shape, whatever it is. Is this a shapeshifter or Bigfoot or some other kind of weird thing our brains can't process? I don't know. Not gonna lie, it kinda looks like a giant frog. The round orb-like eyes would check out if it was a frog, and its arms kinda, resemble a frog's arms a bit. I don't know. I don't know why I did this. Do frogs stand like this? Maybe. All I know is this is definitely very strange footage, and that creature could be a shapeshifter. Or a giant frog. I don't know. In our number 2 spot, we have the Dr. Phil guest. For once, it's not a celebrity that revealed themselves as a shapeshifter, but this is an example of just a regular woman. In this footage, Dr. Phil is speaking to a guest, and all of a sudden the guest's eyes turn into slits. Imagine you were sitting on a live show and talking to someone, and all of a sudden you witness their eyes changing. Would you run and scream or just continue on with the interview? I mean, I think inside I would be screaming like a baby, but on the outside I'd look as cool as a cucumber. In our number 1 spot, we have Hillary Clinton. I bet you were wondering if I would ever touch on Hillary Clinton. Well, now is the time. Okay, not gonna lie, there are so many conspiracy theories tied to her being a shapeshifter, reptilian, alien, you name it. But this footage in particular could be nothing, or it could be something. In this footage, it appears that when Hillary takes a drink of water, her chin gets abnormally bigger, and not in a natural way. It appears to enlarge and drop in a way that has people thinking that she might be some kind of reptile. The footage is interesting and strange, and I can see why people might be shocked by it, but I'm not sure I'm fully convinced with this one. Would love to know if you guys are though. Let me know in the comment section below.